Okay, so this is game number 1 in our Analyze With Me Top 50 Moves of All Time series. So in the series, we will get right into the games. We'll talk about them while they're playing, and then when the key moment comes up, we'll examine what's going on and figure out what the right move is. So this game is Steinitz versus Mongrienden from 1862. Okay, and so the video just stopped, which means that we're at the key point in the game. Lots to look at here. So we see that white is clearly doing something on the king side. We have the rook attacking, we have the knight attacking, we have, let's see here, the queen can hop in. This bishop is pinning down this pawn, that will come into play later. And then this rook is also capable of jumping in the game. So that's a lot of arrows. I don't know, too many arrows. But so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that can quickly jump in. This bishop maybe can even jump in if it needs to. So we'll say that we have 6 pieces that can get involved in the fight real fast. Whereas black, this bishop, this rook, and the queen will be able to get involved. So a few more pieces for white than for black that can get involved in this attack. So if you have not figured out, and then there's also, you could do a knight move and then there'd be a discovered attack against the queen. But that's not really what this tactic is about. So take a minute and try to figure out what's going on here, what the next move is. You can go ahead and write it in the comments if you have not seen this before. So we'll move over to the screen where the game will continue and we'll see what plays out. So in this position, white sacrifices the knight to start it off. The black knight takes back on h7, and now the rook comes crashing in on h7. King takes. He doesn't have to take here. He could just leave the rook alone, but then white could just pull the rook out and he would be up material and position. So king takes, queen slides in real fast to h5 with a check. You can't block with the bishop because this other bishop would come in. So the king has to retreat, it's the only option. And then of course the other rook slides over, and we see that the idea here is queen to h7. That would be checkmate, game over. So black may want to do something about that, maybe. So what did he do about that? He moves the rook out of the way so that he gives his king somewhere to go. So what does white follow up with? Thank you for that knight. And the reason that knight is a free knight is because this pawn is pinned down by the bishop. You can see from the arrows. Black would not be allowed to take back because he'd be putting his king in danger. So he has to do something else. Let's see. Black comes in and says, hey, let's trade queens. Even though white is winning this game, you can see the eval bar over to the left at 5.3, so white is winning by a lot. But black is actually up material. Black is up a single pawn because white has sacrificed some stuff. So he's just trying to trade in sort of a last-ditch effort here. So let's see what happens. White says, thank you for this pawn. He's attacking the queen with check. He's attacking the rook at the same time. We call that a fork. So black has 2 options here. He can take back with the queen, which is what he does in the game, or he can move with king. Let's see what happens if he moves with the king. And this line is fascinating to me. So in this position, white can just grab that rook, and if black takes the queen, then white can take back with the bishop and would be 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces compared to 1, 2, 3. So white would be winning in position and material, and this game would basically be over. So another option, instead of taking back with the queen, let's say that black takes back with the rook. Now, what's the move in this position? This is actually my favorite move. This is what I'm considering the most interesting move in this game, even though it didn't actually happen in the game. Anybody see what it would be? So rook to h8. I'll give that 2 exclamation points. What's the idea here is if the king was to try to run away, you see that the eval bar goes to mate in 10. So a forced checkmate in 10 moves. You can see how this would probably play out. The rook could come in. No, that's not it. I guess you come with the queen first, see? Queen first. Oh, jumps to mate in 6. That shouldn't happen. If it's mate in 10, oh, now it changes to mate in 7. See, that's the interesting thing with a computer analyzing the position is that it initially said mate in 10. I guess with a little bit more time to think about it, it actually drops to a mate in 7. So, that's, if you know why that happens, drop it in the comments, because that doesn't happen too often, but I don't know if that's just, yeah, I don't know what's happening there. So, mate in 7. So, in order to avoid a forced mate, the king does not run away. Instead, the bishop takes the rook. Whoops, just lost a rook, right? But what's the idea now? Well, white's other bishop can now get involved in the game with a big old check. And let's say that black is like, oh, I'll just block. Thank you for your queen. This bishop is pinned down. He has to move here and mate. Good night, good night. So, what else could black do instead of moving his bishop in the way? He obviously can't move his king here because that's being attacked by the queen. So then he would have to slide the king to e7. And now what would white be able to do? Again, pause the video if you don't see it. But in this case, I'll just bring my bishop over here. And now I've pinned or skewered, depending on which one you like to call that. I don't know. Those tactics mean something, but I don't remember which one's which. We'll call it a skewer. This bishop is skewering this queen and this king. Pinning? No, it's skewering. I'm going to have to look that one up. Either way, black cannot save his queen. So in this position, he might try all sorts of stuff. Who knows? Let's say he tries to protect here. Bishop takes, rook takes, and now white is up 3 points of material because he had a knight and a couple of pawns compared to a rook and 2 bishops. So this would be an easy win for white. This continuation is not what happened in the game though, so we'll go back to the game. And in the game, after bishop takes on f7, what does black do here? Well, he takes with the queen, and now the final move by white, again, pause if you don't know it. What does he do here? He still brings in this rook to h7. And you see the idea here is that this bishop is pinned down, so it can't take back. So, but black can't do anything else, so what does he? He has to take with his king, and then white simply picks up the queen, and black resigned at this point because this bishop on b7 is in danger, and there's still lots of attacking ideas, and then once white just moves, some more of his pieces involved, knight hops in, gets into the action, mate is coming, so even though white is only up 1 point of material in terms of evaluation, he's up well over 5. Again, you can see that on the left, the eval bar. So that is our first installment of Analyze with me. And this is game number 50, I think. There's a lot of good games out there, a lot of good moves, the 50 best moves. So we'll keep going along, and that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Okay, as usual, play the game. So this is move 49 of the 50 greatest chess moves of all time in our Analyze with Me series. So this game is Vladimirov versus Epfishin. I don't know, I'm terrible with names. I'll put it in the show notes. This game was played in 1987, so it'll be white to make a amazing move once the pieces stop moving, and we'll discuss what's going on before that amazing move gets done. Okay, so white is looking good. They're up a pawn, and they just got a knight take and a rook takes. Queen back. And let's see what happens. Pawn takes, king check, rook over, loses the queen. So black just took white's queen on b3. And now you see, again, that eval bar right about there, showing you that white's up 4.4. And so it's tactic time. So let's see what's going on in this position. White can obviously just take back the queen, but then it wouldn't be up number 49 on our greatest moves of all time, right? That would not be that interesting. So what does white do in this position that is amazing? So pause it if you need some more time to figure it out, and go ahead and write in the comments if you think you know what it is or you definitely know what it is, and we'll see who's able to get it right. Okay, so we'll move and see what white does in this position. So in this position, boom! Did you see it? Did you see it coming? Did you see it? I didn't see it coming. Bishop to h6. Okay, so instead of taking back the queen on b3, bishop to h6, an open square, attacking, obviously, black's king through its rook. That's the idea. So what happens if black wants to take that bishop? Let's examine that line. Okay, so you now again see the eval bar. Go to mate in 2. That means the game is over in 2 moves, no matter what. So how would white finish this game in 2 moves? Well, let's take a peek. Here would be rook to g8, check, and then where can the black king go? Or what can the black king do? So in this case, he could take with the knight, right? And then what would be the follow-up? Promotion to a queen and checkmate. So that would be how that can end up in mate in 2. And what else can black do? What happens if black tries to take the pawn? Now what's the follow-up? Well, you just slide the other rook in for mate on g7, right? So those are the 2 options there if black was to take that bishop. So what else can black do other than taking the bishop here? I mean, he could obviously check with his queen. He could try to get his queen back involved. Let's say that he just goes and gets his queen, tries to get his queen back involved in the game. Now it's just mate in 1. And what's the mate in 1 here? Boom! Rook to h7, because the rook is protecting the pawn, the bishop is attacking the king. That king cannot move anywhere, and since it's check with the bishop, nothing, the knight can't help, checkmate. So let's see, is there anything better? There must be something better, because white's up massively, but the game's not over. Let's see here. Can you go back and defend? It's not an immediate mate. Can you go back and defend here? Again, not an immediate mate, but not good. I don't know. I'm not sure what black does here in order to only be down 5 points. But let's see if we can figure it out real quick. You can't take knight. Can you just block? Oh, interesting. Potentially knight to knight to g4. Why did that work? Because knight to g4. Because if rook just takes. Oh, what? What happened? How is black winning all of a sudden? Oh, I don't see it. Bishop, queen. Oh, maybe you go with it like here or something. No, good grief, I'm terrible. Okay. It's not a take. It's not a take here. don't know why black is up in this position. Oh, free bishop? Nope, it's still mate. Oh, because all you have to do is move the rook. Now can you take? Oh, you can now take the bishop because this bishop is no longer guarding the square. So check, takes, and now there is. The king gets to walk out of danger. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is why this is called Analyze With Me, because I'm also analyzing the position. So in this situation, white does not want to take, because then he actually is down. Did he just take with the bishop? That puts black ahead too. Oh, does he take with that one? Nope, that puts him ahead too. Why? Oh, because then this rook takes check. How about that? Boom! There it is. Okay, now rook just goes. Now it's sort of the same move. It's just that this bishop is still pinned down. He's in check. He can't take. Oh, but he can take the. Now he can take the bishop. Okay, now I just grab the rook. Yep. King takes. And check. Oh, and that's where black resigned, because when he gets out of check, let's say he goes back there, then I just pick up the queen, and this knight is hanging, this other rook is going to infiltrate, and this bishop is still nasty. Okay, very cool. So that is move 49 of 50 on our greatest chess moves ever. I like that one. I hope you did too. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, we are now on the 48th greatest move in chess history in our Analyze With Me series. This game is between S. Brazozga and Bronstein from 1963. As usual, I'll put game information in the video notes. This one actually takes a while to set up. It's a long game, and even the amazing move is kind of a long time getting ready. So we can see in the game there's some maneuvering of pieces. Looks like the queen for black is being put in the corner, which looks crazy dangerous. Some more trades. Okay, so right now white has the advantage, and we'll see what black does to get back in this game and to do the 48th most amazing move of all time, according to me, which is only incredibly subjective, but it's actually really hard to pick, even a certain number of moves that you think are good, just because there are so many amazing moves that have been played, especially if you look back at all the games from all time. It's not an infinite number, but it's a lot. So I think we're getting close. And okay, a little more maneuvering. Why did he not take that? Okay. Okay, the pieces have stopped moving, so we are in the key position. See if you can figure out what the tactic is right now. So fast. Write it in the comments right below what you think it is before you finish watching. So continue pausing if you want to try to figure it out. Or continue pausing. If you're pausing it, you wouldn't know I'm saying that. So pause it, and then we'll see what the move is. What do we notice here? The black rooks are trying to take over these two files. This pawn on A3 is just 2 squares away from promoting, which is a clue. So maybe if we can figure out how to get that pawn all the way across the board, then black can promote and get, a queen back. So let's go and see what the move is. Okay, back to that position without the lines, and the move, did you guess it, is Rook takes on b3, check. What's the idea? Well, obviously the white has to get out of danger. He has a couple of options. What are his main options for getting out of danger? If he takes with the pawn, this is probably the easiest continuation, right? You see the evaluation bar, which is right there. The black bar, well, now it's mostly black because black is winning after that move. The obvious move is what? You're just going to push this pawn into the bishop. The bishop takes, rook takes. And then now the black rook is behind enemy lines, which can be very powerful, especially when there's a bunch of pawns to pick off. So I think white would have to go there, but then black would just go there, and he's going to come back here and try to start munching on pawns. So that's why black is clearly winning in that position. So that's what happens if white takes back the rook. So with the pawn anyway. Oh yeah, that's what happens. So he's not going to do that. If he goes king back to c2, that's even worse. It looks like he's now down almost 11 points, and I think that's just because check, king back here, and then the same thing. Black's just going to get behind enemy lines. That's not the best move, but it works, right? He just starts munching on these pawns, and eventually, well, he actually can just move his rook over and come in. So, major attack for black. So what else could white do? If he goes back here, obviously he just straight drops the bishop. That's not good. And what happens in the game, and I think it's the best move, is what? King takes on b3. So this is what happened in the game. This is the best move. Black is still winning, but not as much. So what's the follow-up now? Well, black, of course, just slides his rook over. If white king tries to take the pawn, well, you just lose the bishop. Same idea as before, behind enemy lines. And if he tries to save the bishop by going right there to c2, same move. Rook attacks on b2, and then the king has to, unless he wants to give it the bishop, he has to defend this way. And then now black is going to start munching on these pawns again. So we'll play out the rest of the game and see. This is actually how this game plays out. We'll just play it and watch. So the black rook is maneuvering, eating those pawns, and now he starts pushing his own pawns, getting those pawns deep into enemy territory, attacking the bishop, gives up a pawn, check. Who cares about the check? The black rook is just dancing, check. Who cares about the check? Who cares about the check? Really, white's just moving black further up the board, which is not what you want to do. He gives away another pawn with check, but it doesn't matter. It's too strong. Pushes, and queen promotes on e1. Black's up 1 point of material, but is up, according to the eval bar, again, right there, is up 6.6, which is way more than enough. Not only is he up 6.6, well, he's up 6.6 because this pawn is also potentially going to promote, even if there isn't a checkmate. So he'll have 2 queens to a bishop and a rook, which is way more than enough to win. So this is an example. So the move that we are calling the 48th best move was back here. Let me take off some of these lines. This was when, in this position, when rook takes on b3. That's what we're calling the 48th best move that I've ever seen in this, in chess. So this is in our Analyze with Me series. Appreciate you watching, and let's see, we're going to have our 47th best move. That video should be, I don't know, I'm pretty bad knowing where they're going to show up. I think it should be right around there, right around the eval bar is. And yeah, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hello everyone, we're continuing in our series of the 50 greatest chess moves in history. This is move 47. It's in a game of Bayern versus Philip from 1971. Again, that, as usual, will be in the show notes. So we're already into the mid game almost in this game. So we'll see how it turns out. And then when the amazing move, number 47, comes up, we will pause the video and see if we can figure out what the move is. Okay, so this is pretty balanced. White's up a little bit. If you look at the eval bar right there. Okay, white's got basically complete control of the middle of the board here. And sacrifice a pawn. Nice, okay. Pawn takes, king takes. And the pieces have stopped moving, which means we have arrived. Okay, what does white do in this position? So if you don't know, if you already know, then you're amazing. But if you don't know, pause the video and write in the comments what you think the move is. So let's look at this and see what is probably going on. So this rook is taking over this file, so the king can't go over there, but that's not really that important. Rook's also taking over that row, but also not super important because the main thing in this position is this pawn, right? This pawn is just 2 squares away from turning into a beautiful queen, and that's what black needs to stop, right? So let's see what's happening here. If, so if you push the pawn already, what happens? You see the eval bar drop from +3 to -4. So that's probably not the move. Why? Because in that case, easy enough. Bishop not only attacks rook, but now the black rook can come and defend this promotion. So that's not going to work. So again, you see the eval bar jump back up. So what is the move that will enable us to push that pawn? Okay, we're going to go see. Again, if you haven't decided yet, if you haven't figured it out, pause the video. Okay, so we're looking at the position, and are you ready for it? Are you ready? This is move number 47 on our all-time greatest moves. And it is the amazing, the stupendous rook to d8. Exclaim. Okay, here's why. Let's see. Obviously, if king takes rook, then that pawn pushes, and you cannot stop it. It's going to promote with check and take the rook. Game over. Good night. Drive home safely. Okay. If you try to just leave the rook alone, move the king over, push. Ooh, nope, I'm sorry. Game over. Mate in 4 once you promote to a queen. So that's why you can't stop it going that way. And if you try to just get the bishop out, which actually isn't much help at all, but in this case, rook takes rook, and even if you go back here, well, no, that's over. So that doesn't work either. And nothing working is why that move is so amazing, because once rook goes to d8, the game's over, black resigns. There's nothing to do here to stop pawn promotion for another queen. There's no checks to really give. There's nothing to do except call it a day. That's move number 47. Like and subscribe if you like these videos. And move number 46, that video should be right down there somewhere if you want to keep watching our series as we march toward the greatest move in chess history. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, we're back with another game in our 50 greatest moves of all time, analyzed with me series. This is move number 46. So I assume you've watched other ones, but if you haven't, we're looking at the greatest moves of all time. Sort of, it's very, very subjective, but it's what I consider some of the greatest moves. And I'm actually learning a ton just going through these games and figuring out the the combinations and the attacks that are going on. So this game is Tau versus Goko from 1969. I'll put in the notes, and the pieces moving means that we have arrived at the position that we're going to be looking at. So it's white to move, and you can see from the evaluation bar, which is right about there, that white is already winning by over 5 points, so already up a lot. Just looking for the decisive advantage here. So lots attacking. White obviously has his bishop along the diagonal. This queen is close. And this knight is obviously involved. Both rooks can get, well, this rook is involved in the attack. And this rook obviously can get involved very quickly. So let's see here. If you know the move, go ahead and write it down in the comments and tell us or show us your brilliance. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video and we'll give you that time. Otherwise, we're going to continue on and show you what the move is. Move number 46. Okay, same position without the arrows, and the answer is bam. Rook takes, queen, rook takes, rook slides over, and in this position, white is winning, black resigns. Okay, let's go back and see how that played out. Okay, so rook takes on g7 is the move. That's the move that we're calling the 46th greatest move. We saw what it ends up being, but let's look at this a little more closely. So in this position, black can take the rook, black can take the queen. Black could come and check, a couple of options, but so in the game, black takes the queen. Let's see what happens if black takes the rook. You see the eval bar stay high. What's coming in this position? Rook over. King then check. Where does he go? If he comes there, I think he's just going to get mated. So let's say that he goes back to where he was. What's the follow-up here? What's the follow-up here? Nope, that's not it, because then I think you give black enough time to get back in the game. It can't be take bishop, because then you're losing that. Is it knight take? No, that wouldn't make any sense. Oh, they're just stepping over? No. Oh. The eval bar is having a hard time figuring this one out. So if king goes back... Okay, what's the follow-up move for white here? I would think he has to get the king out of, or the queen out of danger, right? I already tried that, didn't I? Is it just here? Okay, the eval bar likes that. Sometimes these are so hard to figure out without the evaluation bar. What's the idea here? Okay, so the bishop is taking over that diagonal, where obviously the threat is queen coming in to g7. Let's see, let's say black falls asleep and you just get checkmated. So black must have some resources to not get immediately checkmated. I'm not sure what they are, to be honest. Is it just like rook? No, that's still made one. Take the rook. Duh. Sacrifice a bishop or something? Yeah, so I think you can just throw a couple pieces in the way, but your pieces are just way too out of place to do anything about it. So that's why white wins. If you take the rook, and like we said, in the game, after rook takes, Black takes the queen, and then the follow-up, as we saw, is now it tells you it's a forced mate in 6. So Black could have resigned at any point along the way, but maybe he was interested to see what the checkmate might look like. Who knows? Okay, and then so now this bishop is eyeing through this rook, or X-raying, I think that it's called. So this rook can move anywhere it wants to and deliver check. And so it takes the bishop, and now that's actually a double check, which are particularly nasty because you have to move the king. So he moves the king, another check, and king over, and rook slides in, and it tells us that it's mate in 2. Idea being that I guess the queen could take the rook, and then knight takes, that's mate. Is there anything else to even do? I guess you could like slide the queen over. And then, ooh, that'd be a nasty mate. Yeah, that'd be sick. And I guess you could do the same thing. You could just move the queen. So you could take the rook, you could take the knight, sorry, and then you just get mated with rook. So lots of options for checkmate. Having both of those rooks right beside the king are obviously, obviously incredibly powerful. So if we go back to the original move 46, it was a couple moves back. It was the amazing rook takes on g7. Again, giving up either a rook or a queen, but either way, the game ends the same way, with white winning. Okay, if you like that video and you've been liking this series, like and subscribe. And move number 46, that video should be down and over there, right around there. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, we're going through the 50 greatest games in this series we're calling Analyze With Me. This is the 45th best move in chess history, or of all time. Again, very subjective. Trying to figure out which move is 45 versus 46 versus 44 has been a little bit tough. But this game is being played by Gunsberg, white, versus Chigorin as black in 1890. As usual, that information will be in the video notes. So we're about in the mid-game right now. Looks like black has a slight advantage if you look at the eval bar right there. So white's trying to keep defense going, but black looks like he's making steady progress. So again, the pieces will stop moving when the key move comes into play, and then we'll examine what's going on behind that move. Okay, black, it looks like he's building up a lot of attack on that king side, and the pieces stopped, which means we are at the key position. So pause it, take a look, see what you think it is. Write in the comments what you think black does here, what the best move is, what the move that we're looking for. So let's do a quick look at what's going on. Obviously, the rook and the black queen are dominating this file. The bishop's temporarily in the way, but if the bishop moves, that file is going to be owned by those two pieces. The knight can jump into action, even though the bishop is eyeing that square. Though this queen is sort of X-raying through its own rook to this white rook, and I think those are probably the key setups, key things in this position. So now we're going to move again. Pause it if you haven't figured out, if you're still thinking about it. Otherwise, we'll take a look at what's going on here. Okay, so the move number 45 is rook takes on f3. As usual, there should be some exclamation points flying around the screen or something. So this move, unlike others we've looked at, is not sort of like a game ending on the spot type of move. There will be a lot more play that goes on before this move sort of shows its full power. But we'll look and see what's going on. So what happens here, if queen doesn't take, then you have this threat. You know, actually, you have this threat winning the queen. So you almost have to take here. So queen takes, and this is what happens in the game. Queen takes, and then now the rook comes, or sorry, the queen comes flying in. The idea is attacking the king check, and the queen cannot block because this bishop would take it. And obviously, if the queen goes here, then the black queen would just take. So king goes back to g1. Okay, the next move in the game, bishop check on f2. What's the idea here? If king, or well, king can't take. If queen takes, let's see, queen takes, what happens? Bam, check. And thank you for your queen. And white's up well over 6 points. So that would not be good for white. So that's why in this position, he decides to just slide his king underneath. Now the knight check. When I first saw this, I thought the rook was going to take here, but nothing. That's an okay move. Black is still winning, but you know, queen takes back, and then the follow-up gets a little bit dicey here. I mean, you could do something like this, but now the eval bar, now this is basically an even game, so that's not what black is looking for. So white slides under, and the knight jumps into action. So the knight is attacking the queen, but that's not actually the main point behind this move, because the knight immediately gets taken, and then what's the idea? Why did he basically give up the knight? Well, that bishop was guarding that rook. So now I will take the rook, says black. So black takes the rook and check again and attacking this bishop. So it looks like the king might want to take this bishop, but that does not work because once the rook takes the other rook, you see that black is up 7 points. And that's because not only is this bishop under attack, but this bishop is also under attack. So since white can't defend both of them, he would lose another bishop, and then he would be down significantly. So that's why in the previous position, white does not take the bishop. Instead, he continues to move his king around the board. So in this position, now black takes the rook anyway, and then now the bishop gets taken. Okay, so black had a commanding lead, and now he just needs to finish this off. He grabs the bishop. Pawn push in order to try to give himself some space. And now the evaluation bar says mate 12. In the game, black goes queen to f1 check, and we see a mate in 13. So interesting side note is I tried to find this mate in 13 earlier before I made this video, and I could not find it. And so the weird thing is that the evaluation bar keeps changing. So in this position, so it claims it's mate in 13, but I'll show you what I mean. So if the king goes to d2, then see it's dropped to 8, and now it's back to mate in 13. Okay, so what would be the beginning move? You assume it'd be something like that. Mate in 12. Okay, where can white go? He has literally one move. He goes back here. So now it's mate in 12, supposedly. Well, okay, what would be the next move in the series? It's not rook. It's still not the rook. If you go back, now it's mate in 15 still, but before that, it's mate in 12. If you go rook here, mate in 11. So now it's mate in 11, right? It was mate in 12 earlier. So this is what happens. It just keeps changing. I don't know. Maybe if I leave it for long enough on a powerful enough evaluation setting, it would give me the correct answer. But I could not find the forced mate anywhere. I can figure out how to, how to win the queen. If you go back here, which is where I think we started, and you go up here, then rook is attacking the queen, you block here, and then now I think if you go here, check, And I think you're going to win the bishop, because if you try to block, then you just take, and in that case, black is totally winning. So, anyway, all that said, I'm not sure where the force mate is, but the game ended a little bit earlier with when queen here, queen to f1. And then we'll go all the way back to the move that we considered the greatest, the 45th greatest move in chess history. And that was when we go all the way back to that beautiful rook sack on f3. Okay, if you liked that video, like and subscribe. And this series is continuing. Next video will be the 44th best move. And I think the entire series link should be right down here in that corner. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone. This is move number 44 in our 50 greatest moves of all time series, where we are examining the greatest moves in chess history. This game is played by Magnus Carlsen, the best chess player ever, versus Tor Goldbranson. This is back in 2022, so Magnus was just a kid, but he still made some pretty amazing moves. So when the pieces stop moving, we'll know that the key position has shown up, and I think it's drawing pretty close, and there it is. So this is the key position. So take a minute, look at it, and decide what you think Magnus does in this position as white. Go ahead and drop it in the comments if you know what it is, and pause the video if you're still thinking about it, figuring it out. Okay, hope you're ready. Let's take a look and see what it is in this position. Well, that's not true. Before we look at that, let's see what's going on here. So this knight is under attack, obviously. This rook has a nice open file. Black is a little, well, not a little, he's underdeveloped. This rook, bishop, and rook have not moved yet. So there are several targets. And then the queen, queen has a couple places she can go. Okay, here we go. You ready? And the move is, see if you guessed it, queen takes on a7. Sacrificing the queen, or at least offering a queen sacrifice, right? What's happening here is that if black takes, if he accepts the sacrifice, let's say that he does not see what's going on and says, oh, I'll take it. Then what happens? Rook takes bishop. And then the only way to not get checkmated is to block with the queen, right? Because knight can't help, king can't move, so you block with the queen. You pick up the queen, and then you can take the rook by taking on d8, and then fork. It's what's for dinner. Fork, checking the king. He goes here, you pick up the knight. Pick up the rook, sorry. And then you probably, I don't even know if you can keep that. I don't even know if you can get that knight. If you go there, he just hops out. So yeah. So then you're up a knight and bishop, rook versus a knight and a rook. You know, black maybe grab a pawn or two, but he's still up. Oh, that's not a good move. But still up, 3 points or so. So that's what happens if you take the queen. So if black accepts the sacrifice, and he goes down that path. And in the game, he chooses to not accept. He goes rook to b8, which, as you see, the eval bar actually gets a little bit worse. See if you can figure out what the move now is. You thinking? Okay, well, I'm just going to sack it again, says Magnus. So he sacks, he gives up the queen on the rook anyway. And it's a very similar idea, right? The threat is either queen or rook to take this bishop. And so how do you get out of this threat? You take back with the knight, and then what's the threat from white? It's to take rook. And then this time, the king does have an escape square. If he chooses to take it, picks up the rook. So now you have two rooks, which is similar to a queen. You have a bishop and a knight, which are equal, and then you have this. Well, you don't have the extra knight. You lose the knight there. So then you have two rooks and a queen versus the queen, and a knight versus the bishop. But pawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the pawn situation is even, but the problem is that black has. Oh no. Well, sorry. White would just take the knight. So all of that to be said, white's still up because now he has a whole extra piece. So after that attack, it looks like. Let's see. When does black even give this game up? Oh, he gets the knight out. Okay, so in the game, saves the knight, pushes the pawn. Let's see how this plays out. Pins down the knight, takes the pawn, takes, and protects it. Then attacks the rook. Rook left. Here comes oh, that's a nasty move. That's a fun little tricky move there, right? Like, ooh, free rook. And the fork. Picking it up. So always gotta watch out for those knights. They're very tricky. Okay, so threatens the rook again. Check. He's gonna move the rook up, threaten that pawn. And he is threatening to mate him on the back rank. Oh, gives up the queen, knight, and just calls it a day because now it's a rook and 5 pawns versus 5 pawns. So with an extra rook, I think anybody can win this game, much less against Magnus, even though he is only, I think he's 12 years old during this game. So that is move 44 on our 50 greatest moves list. A nice queen sacrifice to pull away that rook from defending the back rank. So if hopefully you've seen some of our other videos in this series, we're marching down towards the greatest move in chess history. So if you like this, like and subscribe, and the next set of videos or the series is down that way. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, we're still going through our 50 greatest moves of all time in our Analyze With Me series. Today we're looking at move number 43. This is the, in my estimation, 43rd best move of all time. As I mentioned in previous videos, it's kind of hard to not be completely subjective when doing these evaluations, but I'm giving it my best shot. So, the game is playing. If you've seen our videos before, when the pieces stop moving, that means the key position is up and ready to go. So this game is between Krasenkow and Adianto from 1998. I'll put that information in the notes. And we're going to look at white and see what amazing move. Oh, you see the eval bar go up big for white. Check with the queen, and bishop attacks queen. The pieces have stopped moving, which means it's time to figure out what white does in this position. So let's examine what's going on here. White has a lot of pieces hanging. This bishop is being attacked. The queen is being attacked. And the knight's being attacked. Of course, this pawn is pinned down due to the rook, but still, there's still a lot of trouble here. So what does white do? What else is going on here? So we can see from the evaluation bar, which if you're not familiar with that, it's this bar right here that says M5. That means it's mate in 5. So white had a forced checkmate in 5 moves that black can't stop no matter what he does. So that tells us that the game is actually already over. But again, if you're playing in a real chess game, or when the players were playing this game, they don't have an evaluation bar. They didn't have, 98, probably even, well, you probably, I don't know, maybe you had chess engines. So you maybe could have had a computer calculate that it was mate in 5. But anyway, they didn't know it. So in this position, the game continues on. If you know the move, drop it in the comments. Tell us what you know. Tell us what you think, and pause it if you need more time to figure out what the move is. Otherwise, here we go. Same position, and the move is the 43rd best move in this position, or 43rd best move in history in this position, according to me, is the monstrous knight to e6. Bam. And you see the evaluation bar tells you it's mate and 4. So that is the next the next move in the continuation. So again, without the evaluation bar, that's a more amazing move maybe, because it's not entirely obvious why that's such a powerful move, especially since there are so many options for black to do here. So before we examine what happened in the game, let's see what could have happened with that move. So again, we see the move, and so white can be taken by the bishop, the queen, the rook. No, the rook can't take anything. The pawn can take the bishop. So let's say that if you just take pawn takes on c5, now it's just mate in 1. The queen just checkmates, right? Because the queen is backed up by the rook. So that's the end of the game. Even faster if you take with the pawn. Now let's say the obvious move, and what happened in the game is bishop takes queen, right? Because, oops, sorry. It's thinking I want to do that move. Okay. So, sorry. Bishop takes queen. So you see the mate in 1 pop up again, and that's because, can you see the checkmate? So the bishop had that diagonal, queen has that file. So the king has nowhere to go. You see those arrows crossing everything. So all you have to do is put the king in check in a way where you can't be taken. How can you do that? Well, very simple. Knight to c7, checkmate. The knight's attacking the king. The king still can't go anywhere because these squares are still cut off. That's the end of that one. So that's mate in 1. So like we said, in this position, after the knight move, it's actually mate in 4. Let's see what else could be done here. Can black do anything just to slow this down? Are there like spite checks? Is that what can slow this down? So there's a couple of spite checks maybe. And let's see. Black can delay with that, which just gets taken. And then now black could take the knight. And we could just go. That's not main one. Oh, it could be the bishop. Or would that be mate in 1? Oh, because he blocks with the bishop again. Good grief. Okay. So in this position, it's mate in 2. Looks like the fastest way is just to take this pawn. Yeah, okay. Fastest way is just to take the bishop. Sorry. So in this position, it's black's turn to move, and he can do absolutely nothing to stop the queen check on either d7 or f7, right? Because if you block with the rook, trying to stop that take, you just get mated that way. And if you do a different move, well, it's actually the same problem. You can go there, or you can go there, right? Either one of those works. Okay, so we have examined all the possible options, or I think so. We'll go back, and again, this amazing move, the one that gets the multiple exclamation points and counts as the 43rd best move that we've ever seen, is this knight to e6 move. Not even a check, but just completely demolishes the opponent, in that he doesn't have anything to do to avoid an impending checkmate. Okay, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and subscribe. And the rest of the series, We're down to move 43, so we've started on move 50, and we're moving down towards 1. If you want to see any more of our videos, they're right down here. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, we're here with our 42nd best move of all time. We're still in our series of the 50 greatest moves in chess history. And this time we're looking at a game between Polyugavesky and Nezhemtinidov. Yeah, from 1958. I probably messed those names up as I usually do, so they will be in the video notes if you want to check them out later. So as usual, we're into the game, seeing what's happening. The pieces will stop when the key move is about to pop up. So this is black attacking on the king side here. Looks like it's even material, pretty good position. The white king is in the middle of the board. Black obviously wants to hunt down that king, and the pieces have stopped moving, which means we are at the key position. So, as usual, if you have a guess as to what the move is, write it in the comments. And pause the game if you want some more time to analyze. What does black do here that earns him spot number 42? Okay, let's take a look and see. Here we go. The move is rook takes on f4. What an amazing move. You can see the evaluation bar. It's like, that's an okay. It moves up. Black was already winning, but it actually did move up just a teeny bit more after this move. So we will examine what happened in the game, and then we'll go back and look and see what some of the other options might have been. So, well, before we look at what actually happened in the game, we'll talk about what the threat is here, right? The obvious threat is that this rook is sort of blocking this bishop, but that means it's a discovered check when the rook moves out of the way. Also key to notice is that this rook is attacking the queen, so the queen is being threatened. This knight is more than ready and willing to jump into the action, and this knight is also ready. This rook is the only piece that black has that's not actively involved in the fight, but in very short order can get itself involved in the game. So in this position in the game, white says, you got to take the free queen, right? Got to take the queen. Okay, so maybe he saw what was coming, maybe he didn't. He wanted to see how it all played out. So he takes the queen, black check with the rook, and with the bishop, a double check, always powerful because that means the king absolutely has to move. So the king goes to d4, and now black, you can sort of picture him calculating, figuring out whether he can hunt this king down. So normally in a position like this, you have to do a check to sort of, keep the attack going. But in this case, black is able to do this quiet bishop to g7 move, just setting up another discovered attack, because when this knight, a discovered check, because when this knight moves out of the way, the bishop, oopsie, that's a bad diagonal. The bishop will hit the king. So in this position, that's the only move in this line that I do not fully understand. I would think, in this position, you want to do something else. I don't know. I'm not really sure what else there is to do. Maybe that's the problem, right? Because you can't, your queen can't really get in the action. This bishop can't help. This bishop can't help. Maybe something like that would be the only thing I could think of, but that tells you it's mate in two. So that's not a better move. Mate in two. Yeah, so maybe that's the problem, is that there's just not a lot of there's nothing good to do here, right? So in the game, for whatever reason, white pushes a4. Maybe he couldn't find anything better either. So you see the evaluation bar go from black winning by 2 to winning by 5. So now black check. En passant takes it. And then another move where that's not a check, which is just so amazing that, again, black is at this point sacrificed his queen, and he's not even bothering to make sure every move is a check, because he could have gone knight to c6. But as you can see from the bar, it's actually mate in 6. So, if he saw all this, he doesn't need to check if you can mate him without checking. So the follow-up is the bishop to d3, which doesn't really stop much. Again, another take without a check from the knight, but there is a check from the bishop, that discovered check we saw earlier. The king has to move. Check. Takes and takes back. Check again. Mate in 3 now. The king runs over to b5. Check. Mate in 2. Check. And in this position, with the mate in 1, white goes ahead and resigns. The follow-up here would be what? The only legal move for the king to make is to go to a6. And then a nasty checkmate, which I personally like a lot, is when you bring the rook and the pawn and the knight work together for checkmate. So instead of getting checkmated, white just resigned a move before that. And so now let's go back and quickly see if we can examine what some of the other options white had other than taking the queen. So the most obvious option to look at is what would have happened if, instead of taking the queen, white would have decided to take the rook. Let's say he takes the rook with the pawn. You see the valuation bar go up to 4.6. What's the idea here? I think bishop comes crashing in. Yeah, the bishop comes crashing in to f4 check. Knight takes. And now the very nasty knight check on c2. And where does that king go? Can't go here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here. That's a problem. So when your king can't go anywhere, but you have to get out of the check, what do? Queen would have to take knight. The queen slides over, picks up the other queen, and now black has knight, rook, and a queen versus 4 pieces, but +3 material-wise, +5.5 on the valuation bar. So a winning game for black. And let's see here. So instead of taking the queen, let's say that white instead took with the knight, took that rook. The follow-up here, is it similar? Let's see, bishop takes. Yeah, it's similar. So then now pawn takes. Oh, yeah, it's the same thing. So whether the knight takes or the pawn takes, you end up with this knight check that can only be stopped by sacrificing your queen. And is there anything else really obvious to do here after rook sack? Let's see. So takes, yeah, and then the king doesn't really have anywhere else to go. So that's why that rook sack was such a powerful move, is that even though white has pieces that are close to the king and seem like maybe they could help, they're just useless in this position where, this rook is out of play. These bishops, are on a great diagonal for attacking. Like they're perfectly placed for an attack, but they need to be on defense, and they're in the wrong spot with these 2 knights in the hunt. So that was our 42nd greatest move of all time, rook takes on f4. If you like that video, then like and subscribe, and check out some of our other videos in this series. Again, we're going all the way through the top 50 moves of all time on our way to number 1. And those videos will be down over here. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, hello everybody. This is move number 41 on our greatest moves of all time in our 50 greatest moves of all time Analyze with Me series. We are looking at a game between Stein and Porchich from 1962. Put that in the video notes if you want to review later. So if you've seen our videos before, you know that when the pieces stop moving, that's when the key tactic comes up. So I think we're getting pretty close. And let's see, it's going to be white to move right about now. Okay, so it's white's turn to move. you can see from the evaluation bar that, which is over there, it says 5.7, which means that white is winning by almost 6 pawns, which is a lot. So this move is pretty much going to be a game ender. If you know what it is, then go ahead and drop it in the comments. And if you don't know what it is, then drop whatever you think it is in the comments. And pause the game if you want some more time to, pause the video if you want some more time to figure out what the move is. Otherwise, here we go. And in this position, white makes the astounding, very interesting, and fun bishop to f6. Exclamation point, exclamation point. What's the idea here is you can see that the bishop is attacking the king. If this knight were to be moved, this knight can move wherever it wants to and it will be a check. White's queen is being attacked, but I think white correctly assumes that that doesn't matter. So let's say that black says, ooh, hoo, hey, ooh, hoo, ooh, hey, hoo, a free queen. So, and let's say that bishop takes that free queen. Is it really free? Is it really? I don't think so. In this position, what does white do? You can see this mate in 2. That means the game is over in 2 moves, no matter what, because check. And then where did the king go? The king only has 1 square to move to. And then what's the finish? Knight to h6, checkmate, game over. Good night, drive home safely. So that's why the bishop to f6 move is so powerful, because it threatens checkmate. So that's one line if black tries to take the queen. In the game, however, after bishop to f6, then black does not want to get checkmated, and so he moves the bishop to e7 with the idea here is that, you know, if you try to move the knight, then the bishop just takes, and now white's losing. So that is why the bishop defends that checkmate. So what does white do here? His queen is still under attack, and now he can get his queen to come help out by going queen to f3. And then you can see the evaluation bar tell you that it's plus 20, which is massive. And because the idea here is that what does black do in this position? Let's say that he, I don't know, let's say he tries to take the rook. Well, then it's just mate in 3, right? Because, let's see, what's the fastest way to do a mate in 3? Mate in 2, he has to go queen, and then you slide in there with the queen for checkmate. So if he decides to do something else, let's say that bishop takes bishop, now queen takes bishop, and it's a mate in 8, and you can try to delay it. It actually makes it mate in 4. So black can somehow make this, that's mate in 2. That's not even better. That's much worse. So somehow you can delay. I'm not really sure. No, still mate in 2. Yeah, I don't know. There's a delay in here somewhere. Mate in 4, rook takes, knight check, or sorry. No, that's not a check at all. Was that a check? Yes, that was a check. Check queen. Blech. And then the same setup as before, except this time instead of the bishop cutting off that diagonal, it's the queen for checkmate. So that is our 41st greatest move of all time. It's a bishop to f6, or potentially sacrificing the queen for a forced mate. But even when black does not take the bait, white still comes out with a victory. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and check out the rest of our greatest moves of all time. The series should be down there and to the left. I think that's your left, my left, whatever. Okay, talk to you later. See you. Bye. Hello, everybody. This is our 40th greatest move of all time. We're doing a series on the 50 greatest moves of all time. We are, I think, 20% of the way through, if I'm any good at math. This game is between Kramnik and Shirov in 1994, two of the best to ever play. And both of them were in their prime at this point, I think. So, a good game. It's going to be a fantastic move by Black once the pieces stop moving. And we'll examine what's going on and see if we can figure out what the tactic is here when it shows itself. Okay, so we're in the mid game. White has a lot of space. Black is going to try to, okay, gets the bishop out of there before it gets too cramped. Ooh, pawn, take, queen, loses the bishop. Oh, but threats of queen coming in. Okay, and defense. And let's see what's going to happen here. Okay, so white attacks the knight on g4 as his last move, and so now it's black's turn to move. So this is where you try to find what is the 40th greatest move of all time. Go ahead and drop in the comments what you think it might be, whether you know it or whether you don't know it. And if you already know it and you've never seen this before, then that is pretty amazing because this one is kind of hard to see. You know, there's black only has, 4 pieces that are left in the game. They're all involved in the attack, but he needs to obviously coordinate them in order to really get going. White has his pieces near his king. They're aiding in defense. But yeah, it doesn't really look like there's a ton going on in this position. So, which makes black's move all the more amazing. So pause it if you haven't seen it. Otherwise, we will take a look. In this position, black plays rook to e4, which, interesting, I think this is the first time in our series that the evaluation bar actually does not like that move. I think you saw it even go slightly more towards white. So normally when we do this move, sort of the move that we're really looking for, it's, the evaluation bar is already heavily in favor of the player making the move, or it turns it in favor. But in this case, black is still losing. So white can hold on and win this game if they move correctly. But in the game, let's see how this rook sacrifice or potential rook sacrifice plays out in the game. White does not take that rook. He takes with pawn, takes back, pushes his own pawn, rook takes, threatens to promote for a queen. Black just ignores it and moves his rook back where it was, able to be taken. White does not promote yet. Oh, white can't promote. White, if white promotes, the queen takes. Sorry. So that's not an option just yet. He does promote. Takes the knight. Queen goes right back where it was. It likes that spot. Rook defends. Black takes another pawn. Now the pawn gets pushed again. Double up those rooks. Double up the rook and the queen. And now you see the evaluation bar turning towards black, right? Takes, 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 check, gets out of check. And now that black can stop this promotion, it's a win for black. So that's how that game played out. Let's see if we can figure out why white does not take the rook when he first has the chance. So in this series, this is the Analyze with Me series, and the reason we're calling it that is that sometimes I have to figure out what's going on in a variation that was not played in the game. So in the game, let's see. So white can take with knight or the pawn. So let's say pawn takes rook. Then what happens here? Takes back. This rook is now in danger. Let's say that this rook, where can this rook go? Can't stay there, can't go there. Can't go there, or there, or there. So this rook is sort of lost. So what might be an okay move is rook to e. Oh, look at that evaluation bar. Wow. So that did not go well. Why? Because of just obviously rook takes on f4. And the king is now going to get hunted down. Let's say he goes, oh, then it's just mate in 2 with a little queen check and bishop block and mate. Good night. So that's what happens if, and let's say he doesn't, let's say he blockades maybe. So obviously still win for black. The idea here is that I think you can just take the rook. Yeah, you just take the rook. If you take the bishop, then you lose the queen. Good night. Okay, so this is why taking with the pawn was super dangerous for white. Let's say that he tries to take with the knight instead. What happens here? And you see the evaluation bar switch again. So the idea here is, I think if you just take back with the pawn, then the rook is again in a similar position where, no, he can just move out of the way this time. Okay, so now let's say that he just moved on out of the way by going, let's say he doubled up his rooks. Then, can you just take? No, it does not work because then the rook will just take back and there's no follow-up. So let's see, what's the idea here? Black is still winning. Can you just push pawn? No, don't analyze with me because I don't know about this. Rotates pawn. Yeah, okay, rotate pawn. This pawn is now down. What do I do here? You can't take. Queen takes and queen take. Let's just say he defends. Let's say he defends the queen. Okay, so that, that's slightly worse. So a little bit better move. I'm not sure what I'm going to find. Let's see here. And that's definitely not it. What's a good move here? I assume it's not queen there. Maybe that's here. See here. Oh, now it's is dead. So if you're white, trying to keep the dead, sacrifice? No. Darn. I know. Sometimes you move the king. No, I guess you can down. The queen's taking somewhere shows. Try here. Probably not. You made 6. Okay, it was here. I don't know. You put it back? No. What's the move again? You can't move on. You can't move the bishop. Okay, so white can do what? Wait, now he's losing. Sounds so tough. What do I do here? Shoot. Oh, some material. So let's see here. He can give back material. He moves his king. Can't be that danger. Oh man. I don't know what it is. I lose that. How do you queen? Oh man. I can't figure it out. Here? No, oh, the other? The same different. Oh, that's that different? That's amazing. No, you think you would be button in. 0.4. Okay, so I got short to me. Okay, see, it was even. I'm gonna say. No, no, the computer's trying to figure out what I'm figure out. We'll say that's something like this. Black can move. We'll do that. Use right? No, I'm terrible. Push. No, what's the way? No, it's only. Oh, it's okay. It's here. What can we do? I mean, that's not better. Oh, that's a move. Why did I do? You can't come here? No, why not? Oh, okay, let's check. Just kidding. That's your move. Okay. So white is slightly ahead. The queen trade loses. So what's here? No? What's everything white does? Make it work for him. What's, oh, you want to go knight here. You want to protect this. You go back or something? You bring the rook over? I don't know. You can't go back. That's got to be worse. Yeah. Okay, I'm giving up on this one. I'll solve this one later. Black's winning. So this was, all of this was from, if we recall, if when white tries to take with the knight, instead of the game, if he take with the knight here, then this was the continuation we were looking at. Looks like this puts black up ever so slightly, and with the correct play, which I cannot figure out, maybe you can, then black can keep the advantage and try to win this game. So the rook to e4 move, like I said, unique in that it does not lead to a immediate advantage for black, but white has to play very carefully. In the game, he did not, and black was able to take advantage. This may have been a move where I assume white probably looked at it for a very long time trying to figure out what was going on. So maybe it was a time control type of situation where maybe he spent a whole bunch of time trying to figure out all these lines, right? Because this is crazy complicated. I can't even figure it out looking with the evaluation bar and having the, being able to move the pieces back and forth, much less figuring out in real time without those aids. Okay, so this was, again, our 40th greatest move. The rest of the series should be down to the left, and like and subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everybody, we're back with our 39th greatest move in chess history. We're in our series on the 50 greatest moves. We're calling this series an Analyze with Me because while I've seen the best move, obviously, because we had to choose them, I often have not necessarily analyzed what some of the other lines might present. So I have you help me figure out what else might happen in the game or what should have happened and what the best moves are. So when the pieces stop moving, that means we've arrived at the key position. Right now it's still mid-game. Black is winning, but the key move has now arrived. So the pieces have stopped. Black is going to do something amazing here. What earns him the 39th move? Oh, sorry. This game is between McDonald and Bowden back in 1869. That's back when they actually knew how to play chess. No, I'm just kidding. Back then, the games were often less precise because they didn't have computers to analyze, but the tactics were often off the charts. So, what does Black do here? Write it in the comments if you know, or if you think you know, and pause it if you need some more time to figure it out. Otherwise, we will proceed. And the move is Queen takes on F3. Did you see that one coming? Because I've seen some queen sacks, but they're usually not. I don't know. This is a position you don't normally see a queen sack in. So nice move. The follow up I think is a little bit obvious, but we'll see if how we get there. So in the game, we'll show you what happens, and then we'll talk about what else might have happened. So in the game, you got to take the queen, right? You just have to. What's the follow up? Bishop check on h3, and there's only one move to make. You have to move the king over. What's the idea next? Obviously a rook lift, right? You're trying to slide this rook over and slide up. So what does white try to do to prevent this? All that he can do, queen to c2. That was literally the only option, right? Anything else loses on the spot. And then the really cool rook sacrifice on d4, which is just like, what? There's so many. How did it? And what's the idea here? Is let's say that this is not what happened in the game necessarily. Oh no, this is what happened in the game. In the game, bishop takes, and then what happens? Knight takes. How pretty. So pretty. If rook takes, good night, game over, drive home safely. And I'm attacking the queen, so the queen's got to go somewhere. And, let's say that the queen, because the queen still wants to guard this square. So let's say that the queen, I don't know, the queen doesn't really have anywhere to go. Let's say that the queen goes here. Then what happens? Well, the eval bar tells you it's mating too, right? Rook to g6. So sick. What's the idea? This bishop has still cut off that diagonal. So the queen has to take, and then once the queen takes, what's the idea here? Yeah. Knight to e2, and I think knight to f3 also works, right? Two different ways to checkmate with the knight. The knight attacking, the bishop cutting off. What a cool checkmate. So going back a couple moves, once rook takes, it's all over but the crying. I don't think there's anything else. What could white even do if he wants to try? He could do something like that, right? Oh no, rook takes rook and it's over. So he's down. Is there anything else to do here? I don't think there's anything else to do. So that one's all said and done. We'll go back a couple moves. So yeah, queen, that was forced. That was all forced. So in the game, yeah, so once queen takes on f3, all you can really do to delay it is to not take. Right, once he takes, there's literally no way to get out of it. Check, the rook lift. Is there anything else to do here? Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to do. So that's it. Queen sack on the knight. What a nasty. And then this, yeah, I sort of like the continuation. That's a nasty move too. And then the knight move is nasty. There's a bunch of nasty moves, but we'll give it to the queen takes on f3. I think a couple of these follow-up moves could probably be another one of our greatest moves by themselves maybe. But we'll call it there. If you like this series, if you're learning something, I'm learning a lot by studying these tactics. I made a couple of nice moves in the game recently because I was channeling my inner 50 greatest moves. So yeah, if you like these videos, subscribe, and there'll be more of them down here and to the right. I think I'm getting that direction now. Maybe it is one day. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. Hello, everybody. This is our 38th best move of all time. So, as usual, we will play the game while we talk through it. So, this is our series of the 50 best moves of chess all time, where I'm reviewing the moves that I think are amazing, stupendous, whatever accolades you want to give them. I examined a lot of games and a lot of moves and came up with my top 50. So, this game is between Mikhail Tal and Hecht, maybe, from 1962. So this was quite a while ago, but it was a good game. And let's see here. When the pieces stop moving, that means we've reached the position where we do the amazing move, and here we are. So take a second, pause the game if you aren't sure what the move might be, and examine the position. We'll look at a couple of ideas right here. This pawn, obviously, on g7 is just one square away from promoting. It doesn't really have a path to promotion right now because the rook is blocking it, but that's important. This knight is active. This bishop is active. Either rook can jump into the game really quick along the e-file. This knight is attacking this bishop, though, so that could be a problem. So if you think you know what it is, write it in the comments. And otherwise, we will take a look and see what the move is. So in this position, white plays the amazing. You ready for it? The stupendous, the as you expected, bishop to f5. Is that what you expected? Is it? Is it? So that's an amazing move because it's not a check. It's not forcing anything. It's just a gentle question to the queen. What do you want to do? Do you want to move? Do you want to take? So we'll examine what happened in the game after this point. It's actually a good while longer in the game until this game is finished, and we'll see. And then after that, we'll look at some of the other lines. So in this position, with the queen being attacked, what does black do? He just takes the bishop on h4, leaving his queen. Okay, so then bishop obviously is going to take queen. Now bishop attacks on c4, and the check. The knight jumps in, attacking the king. King moves up. Bishop moves back. In this case, the knight is undefended, but this bishop is undefended. So it's like, hey, you want to trade? Black just says, I'm going to get this pawn. It's just causing me trouble. And then that was also a double attack on g2, right, with the knight and the rook. So it wasn't just taking the pawn. It was doing two things at one time. King takes, bishop takes. And then you can see from the evaluation bar, this is pretty much an even game. White has a very slight advantage, even though black is up 1 point material. Knight out. And then we'll just look to see how this game. So rook takes over the open file. Rook check. Rook check again. They dance around for a minute. Okay. White's starting to improve the position. Move that knight out of there. Doubles up the rooks. Bishop attacks the rook. Knight jumps in. I'll take that. Rook attacks on b4. Rook grabs a pawn. Rook grabs a pawn. Just a little pawn grab in here. See who can grab the most number of pawns. And then once all the pawn grabbing stops, the winner of the pawn grabbing contest is going to be takes trades rooks. And when the rook goes to attack the pawn, I'll just put the rook right in the way. And at that point, black resigns because he's not going to be able to stop this pawn from promoting. Let's say that he tries to go rook here, push, back, and too late. It's a queen, and now you're just down a rook and he may try to push and keep going like this, and he would promote queen himself, and then the rook would just sack, and then you could push the pawn, and you would win. So that is what happened in the game. We're going to go back and do a quick analysis of what another option might have been. And I think in other analyses is what shows why this move I thought was so cool. Back, 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 back. Okay, so in the position when bishop takes on f5. So the obvious attack if queen takes, then what is it? It's the big old knight check. King gets out of danger by going here. Thank you for the queen. And and now I'm defending this pawn. So now white's up 1.3 with a nice strong attack. Even if, well, knight could take, then you take, but you're still down. Actually, still same. White's still up about the same. So that could be a possible line. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so that's if queen takes. Now let's see what happens if queen decides to... queen doesn't really have anywhere else to go is the interesting thing. Let's say queen comes down here. Why not? Whoops. Mate in 1. Do you see it? This one's a fun one. If you don't see it, pause the video. Otherwise, the knight jumps in with the very nasty mate knight to d6 because all these squares are cut off. The pawn's covering that square. The bishop's covering that diagonal. The knight's actually attacking, and the bishop is cutting off that diagonal. So many pieces involved in that checkmate. So that's what happens if black tries to clear out the queen. And I don't know if there's anything else worth doing in this position. I mean, I guess black could take the pawn right now. But then, you know, you still lose queen. You could take back here, maybe. And then, oh, this is actually pretty similar to what happens in the game. So, white's up just a little bit either way. So, sort of no matter what, white had a good game going. The bishop move just sort of, you know, it was a dead even game before that move, and then he was able to take advantage after that. So, bishop to f5 is our 38th best move of all time. We hope that you're enjoying these videos in our series, and more of these videos are down here to my right. If you like what you're seeing, then like and subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is our 37th best move of all time in our 50 greatest moves of all time series. So we're looking at a game from 2022, Magnus Carlsen, the best player of all time, versus Fabiana Caruana. This is in I think a blitz or a rapid championship. But given how good these players are, you're still going to get a good game. So Magnus has the white pieces, Caruana has the black. We are waiting to see what the amazing move is. This is number 37 we're looking for here. Some trading of pieces. I took the evaluation bar off because it gives too big of a hint for what the correct move is here. So you'll just have to endure without an evaluation bar. So trading off queens, we got bishop and 2 rooks. Against the bishop and 2 rooks, it's pretty even still. You know, it's dead even material-wise. Magnus clearly had a good position, but there doesn't seem to be problems in Caruana's position either. A check, another check. Oh, Magnus picks up a pawn, so he's up a pawn now. That seems to be Magnus's style. Let's see what happens here. Check. Rook's on the back rank. That's always a good threat. Oh, he gives up the bishop. Check. Rook. Oh, this is getting hairy. Takes, rook over, and the pieces have stopped moving. So this is the key position in the game. It's Magnus's turn to move with white. Write in the comments what this move is. You may have seen this. This is a pretty famous game and famous move. So take a minute, examine the position. You can see that Caruana wants to come in here, rook takes pawn, because the pawn's only defended by the king, and that's it, and he'd have the king and the rook attacking, so that's maybe his threat. Take off the arrow here. And otherwise, Magnus, you know, I mean, he's threatening this pawn, but he can't do anything about that yet. Otherwise, the position seems really solid, not much to do. So, if you haven't seen this before and you're ready, then a hint is it is checkmate in one move. So, now that you see that, I'll turn it on so you can, just in case you don't believe me. So, mate in one. So, if you couldn't find it before, I hope you can find it now. And the move is the astounding rook to e4. And so one of the reasons that that move is so amazing, not because it's hard to find, right? Like once you realize it's a mate in one, there's only one move. But the cool thing is one that Fabiana did not notice, who was, I think, or still is, often considered the top 5 players. And think in this position or in this situation, he was considered the second best player in the world. So not only did he miss it, but it's just like it's hard to see when you're just watching the game. Like I was looking at this game and I'm like, okay, where is it? Where is it? And then he makes that move and you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course, obviously, right? So there's not much evaluation, right? Because there's nothing else to do. This is, I think this may be the first best move of all time move that has ended in a checkmate, if I recall correctly. So we're on move 37. I'm gonna have to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure it is. So again, there's nothing else to look at. That's this is our second game by Magnus Carlsen. I think we may have another. Yeah, we have at least one more. It's going to be a top 10 type move. So these are our 50 greatest moves of all time. We are marching towards the best move ever played in chess. And I hope you are watching, liking, subscribing, and looking forward to more of the videos that are down that way. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello, everybody. This is our 36th best move of all time in our Analyze with Me Greatest 50 Moves of All Time series. So hopefully you've seen some of our videos before, but if not, we just play the game, and then when the pieces stop moving, that means that we're going to examine the position and try to figure out what the amazing move is in that position. So this game is from 1970, being played between two people's names I cannot pronounce, Marin Gunik and Lujobajevic, maybe. And black is Lujobajevic. So this game is pretty equal up until the last couple of moves, and when black takes advantage, which is right about now, and the piece stops, which means this is the move. So in this position, what does black do? Take a minute. There's only 3 pieces really that are left on the board for black, so not a lot of options to choose from. And write it in the comments if you think you know what it is, and don't write in the comments after you've already seen the answer. That is clearly not. That's cheating, right? So we will see what the move is. Again, pause it if you're not sure yet. So in this position, black plays the pretty astounding, even though it's relatively simple, rook to b1. Again, there's only 3 pieces in the position. The black bishop really can't go anywhere, so that probably wasn't an option. The queen, unless it's looking for some sort of sacrifice, not there. The rook's the only piece. So the question becomes, why does rook to b1 earn this 36th greatest move ever spot? Partly because it's so simple, partly because the idea is very nice and elegant. In the game, white resigned. White's like, okay, I understand what's going to happen here. Let me call it a day. But we'll look at some of the options. Queen takes is the first idea, which is an average player probably would just take it because let's see what happens. And the answer here is pretty simple. The powerful pawn to f3 is the one that calls it a day. You can see that it's mate in 3, so white has what's called spite checks, and that is just where you check even though you've lost the game. So, for example, white could come back and say queen to b8 check, block with the bishop, queen takes check, you take with the king, and now there's no more spite checks, and so this is where no matter what move white decides to make here, he moves the rook out of the way. Queen to g2, checkmate. So that's what happens if white takes the rook. What else could white try here? White could, try to defend the rook because it's being attacked twice. And so the problem here is, you can see mate in 2, it's actually the same move. Pawn to f3. Now, the problem is that the queen is trying to do too much. It's trying to protect the rook. It's trying to hopefully not get taken by the pawn. So if it takes the pawn, the rook slides in for checkmate. And if it tries to, let's say it moves out of the way to not be taken by the pawn, well, now you have checkmate anyway. And the last sort of good attempt that white could try here, instead of moving the queen, instead of taking the rook, you actually can go knight to f5. And you can see from the evaluation bar, it stays where it was. And that's a weird looking move, but that's the only move that leads to the game going on for a little bit longer. So if black was to take the knight, he loses the rook. So in this position, the rook could just take the queen. And now, in order to not be mate just yet, or no, sorry, where does it go here? So, just take. Sorry, takes rook. And then if you push the pawn, which has been mate before, now you can go knight to h4, and the idea that that knight is stopping that checkmate. So white is still losing because eventually black is going to get its bishop, wants to attack this knight, and then once this knight is out of the way, mate is coming. So that's a temporary delay, but that was actually white's best chance, is to just give up the queen for the rook and try to keep playing on. So that is our 36 most amazing move ever. Again, not a hard one to find tactically, but very simple idea of just pushing that pawn eventually to f3 and threatening checkmate. So if you enjoyed that video, hopefully you learned something. Like and subscribe, and check out some more of our videos in this series down over here. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today you're in for a treat. This is our 35th greatest move of all time. And this game is between one of the best players, arguably the best, well, Magnus Carlsen's better, but this one is maybe the second best player, Bobby Fischer, and Benko. Game from 1963. Fischer is playing white, and if you've never seen this game, you're in for a treat because, as Fischer liked to do, he just unleashes some moves that are just out of this world, where you sometimes wonder where he came up with the idea. So when the pieces stop moving, we know that we have arrived. White is already up in this game, and now he's up even more, and he's ready to make his move that we're deeming the 35th best ever. So take a look at the position and figure out what you think white should do here. This is a hard one to find if you haven't seen it before. And even if you have seen it, but it's been a while, it's hard to remember. So write in the comments what you think it is, and pause the video to give yourself some more time. You may have to pause it for a while to find this one. So hopefully you have figured it out. It is the pretty amazing rook to f6, double exclamation mark. In the game goes on for another couple of moves, but ends pretty shortly. So we will play what happened in the game, and then we will discuss why this move makes any sense at all, because when you first see it, it's hard to understand. So in the game, bishop does not even take rook because we'll see a little bit. Pawn push, and knight simply back to e2 just to get it out of danger from the pawn. And even though that move doesn't really accomplish much, the position is just so difficult for black. You can see from the evaluation bar, he's down 5 points. And even though I never played Bobby Fischer, obviously, I'm pretty sure that being down 5 points to Bobby Fischer meant you were going to lose your chess game. So we're going to go back a couple moves and figure out what the idea behind that amazing move is. And so in this position, what's the idea here? So the idea is that Fischer wants to connect his bishop and his queen in attacking on the f7 square. But in the position as it was, if he simply pushes the pawn in an attempt to do that, you can see from the evaluation bar it goes back to even because now black can simply block with f5. And even if you take on passant, then black's coming in with this. Yeah. Oh no, not. Let's see. Why did that not work? Because black. What does black do here? Must be something pretty obvious. The mate threat is still there. So how do you? Oh. Again, you've seen this in previous videos, that sometimes you're paying so much attention to the evaluation bar, trying to figure out what's going on, you miss obvious things in the game. So that's why that would not have worked in the game. And so this pawn push is why Bobby does the move that we looked at first, which is the rook to f6. And this is called an obstruction sacrifice. And because he's actually sacrificing his rook to obstruct this pawn on f7 from jumping in the way, right? So the obvious question is what would have happened if bishop had taken the rook? So you can see mate in 4. Now, instead of the rook being in the way of the pawn, the bishop's in the way of the pawn. So that's why that would have been a problem. You can see that the bishop and the queen are now lined up, and it's going to be difficult for black to get over there and defend. I'm not even sure what he does to delay it to mate in 3. If he just... Can he push the pawn? Yeah, okay, then you just take. Yeah. I mean, it's over. Other ideas in the game are... I don't know if there's anything better. I mean, you can ignore it like we said, like the black actually did in the game. You could, let's say you just take the knight, then you're pushing the pawn, and then it's the same problem that you had before. This is an interesting one. At least the bishop is now defending the pawn, so what can you do here? I think you can just sack the rook. Yeah, you sack the rook, check. You go here, then I'm checking you again. Bishop takes, and then the queen slides in anyway because it's protected by the bishop. I guess really arrow should go that way, right? So that is move number 35. Is the very nice sacrifice of the rook, or potential sacrifice of the rook on f6 to stop white pawn on f7 from getting in the way. So I hope you like that move. If you figured that one out without having seen it before, then give yourself, I don't know, like a cookie or some gold stars or something, because that's a hard one to find. So I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Subscribe to our channel and check out some more of the videos in the series down. I'll put them down underneath me this time. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at our 34th greatest move of all time. We are looking at a game from 1956 between Tao as the white pieces and Simigan with the black pieces. This is like I said, our 34th greatest move on our march to the greatest move in chess history, which we will get to in, I don't know, a couple weeks probably. When the pieces stop moving, we're at the key position. We like to examine the game and see how it got to that point. So we're already there. So in this position, pause the game, take a second, and try to figure out what would be a interesting move to make. There's a lot of options, right? The queen, you know, can go here with a check, can go here with a check. The rook can try and get involved. So there's a couple of options that, would be normal moves in this position, but then they wouldn't be the 34th greatest move of all time. So write in the comments what you think it is and pause the video. Otherwise, we'll take a look at it. And in this position, Tao plays the very quiet but very spectacular rook to b1, threatening the black queen. So what does black do about that threat? We'll see what happened in the game, and then we'll talk about some other variations that black could have pursued. So in the game, black says, hey, rook, I'll take it, thank you very much. Takes, and then now we go check to c4. The idea is we're going to try to drive this black king onto a dark square, which he now has to go to because this rook has that file cut off. Can't stay on the light squares. Knight's blocking this other light square, so he's going to a dark square, and when he does, the big check with the bishop and a discovered attack on the queen. So the king gets out of the way. Queen gets taken by the rook. The bishop gets taken. And then it looks like this is going to be a tough finish because, so queen is about equal to both rooks. And then the knight and the bishop are better than the rook. So white looks to be down, but then he makes this threat, which is a threat against the bishop and the pawn on b7, a double attack. When black saves his bishop, white comes crashing in, and now it's going to be gobbling up pieces and keeping that king in check. So check, knight takes, check, king moves, check on b3, king moves, check, 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 check. Okay, and then queen takes on e5, so that was the first non-check in, I don't know, about 10 moves or something. So that gets the position, gets the material a little bit more equal here. And then now we're going to see how white finishes it off. Moves his king up the board and then sacrifices the rook so that he can then take the bishop. I don't know why that was necessary other than it looked cool, but whatever. Not my game. Rook stabilizes the middle of the board, keeps his rooks protecting each other, but that drops another pawn. And so now it's a queen versus two rooks, which again is about equal, but white has 3 extra pawns. So then at this point, this a pawn is a passed pawn, and the passed pawns must be pushed. So here comes the a pawn. Gets the queen out of the way so he can continue pushing that pawn. And then in this position, black really just doesn't have much to do. The king is out, sort of in the middle of the board, at least a couple rows up. But these rooks cannot get to him in any meaningful way. So queen check, and I will sacrifice the queen on the rook because, well, once that queen gets taken, white is simply going to promote to another queen and then be up a queen to the rook, and then that's an easy victory. So we are going to go back to when the rook goes to b1 and see what else black could have done. It's quite a long ways back. Okay, so in the position, rook to b1, we're saying that the queen is being attacked. So let's say that instead of taking the rook, the queen decides to go to, let's just say, let's say a5. So you can see the evaluation bar, that's worse for black. So I think the idea here would be check, and then white has to go a couple of options. Let's say that black goes back, and then you can come crashing in with the rook. And you can see how this queen and this rook are attacking this knight. That's going to be dangerous. You can protect it, but then eventually this rook is going to come in, and it's going to be a big problem. So another option, instead of going queen to a5. Maybe the queen goes back to c7 to protect the b7 square. But in this situation, I think we like, is it still the same check? No, not as good. 2.5. How about this? Oh, no, that's a terrible move. Why? Eesh. I'm not sure why that's such a bad move. Is it this check? No, it's not a check with the queen. Oh, how about this? Yeah, okay. Bishop to f4. Interesting. This pawn is pinned down because of the queen attack, so it's not a check, so black can make some other move. Let's say that he brings the other bishop in. Oh, that's not good. So now we come in for the check. Yeah, now we come in for the check. And then this bishop actually cuts off a square from the king. Let's say he backs up again. Oh, and now you're dropping that. Yeah, and it's all over but the crying. So that was if black tried to bring the queen to c7. And I'm sure, I mean, since this rook to b1 move is not a check, that leaves a lot of moves for black. But he has to be very precise here because white does have the rook and the queen headed up towards the king. So that was our 34th greatest move. Not a check, not a, I don't know, I mean, not a attack against the king, but it does make it so that black has lots of problems in the position. So if you like that move, if you learned something, then like and subscribe to our videos and check out more in this series down that way. Thanks for watching. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 33rd greatest move in chess history in our series, Analyze with Me 50 Greatest Moves in Chess History. We are looking at a game from 1900, so a long, long time ago. And if you've seen previous videos, you know that I like to make the claim that long time ago they knew how to actually sacrifice in chess. Partly joking, but also a little bit true, where if you look at old games, like they're just throwing pieces around the board. Nowadays with, chess engines and so much more information, they don't make the types of moves they used to. But okay, so we have reached the position. This is a pretty short game. And in this position, you can see from the evaluation bar that it is checkmate in 9 moves is what the evaluation bar says. But we'll talk about that more later. So mate 9 is a little bit difficult to find, even when you're told that it's there, but you have to consider that when this game was played, there was no evaluation bar because there was no chess software, because there was no software, because there were no computers. So, yeah, a little bit different situation. So the person playing this game had to find this move in real life on a real chessboard. So, take a moment and pause the video if you want to take a few minutes to try to figure out what Fox figured out in this game. Oh, did I say who it was? This is Fox versus Bauer, 1900. I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, take a moment, pause it, write in the comments what you think it is, and we'll see what the move is. So here's the thing that I think is interesting, is that if you look at the exact same position on, in this case, this is a different evaluation board. The previous evaluation board said mate in 9, and now in the same position, we're told it's mate in 6. So I have the same engine running, so I don't know how it figured out how it drops from 9 to 6, but I guess that's how it works. So in this position, white uncorks the fabulous queen takes on g6 double exclam, which is, as you can tell from the evaluation bar, the correct move in that it continues the forced mate. So I'm sure when black saw this move, he was probably like, what just happened? Because he can take back a couple of different ways, or he could not take it all, but they all lead to the end. So let's see what happens in the game, and then we will review a couple of the other options that black could have chosen. So in the game, he does accept the sacrifice, and now white follows up with the second very nasty move, knight takes on g6. So that g6 square is seeing a lot of action here. The idea here is that even though this knight move is not a check, the knight cuts off that square, the rook has cut off this row, and if you can get the rook to h8, that would be checkmate because the king would have nowhere to go. So in order to give himself somewhere to go, there is only... Are there any other options? I don't think there are any other options here. There are no other options other than to take, so that's what he does. And now the very simple bishop to c4 check. You can block with the bishop, but it doesn't change anything. Move the king over, and game over, because as the arrows show, the bishop cuts off the diagonal, the rook is doing the attacking, and that would be how the game actually ended, with checkmate. Again, that doesn't usually happen with modern games. People just resign. I'm just kidding. That's fine. Okay, so what else could have happened in the game? In the game, white could have chosen to take back with the f-pawn instead, but that ends in a very similar manner with bishop takes on c4 check. And now, again, the bishop could block, but it doesn't help. The king is forced to go either to f, or the king could potentially go to h8. But either way, the same nasty move. Let's say that the king goes to, then you get the same very, very nasty knight to g6. So again, that g6 is getting a lot of action here. The idea being that the bishop cuts off, the knight's checking. Excuse me, knight's checking. The only way out is to take the knight, and then you have basically the same checkmate with the bishop and the rook. This black bishop for black is what is totally killing him. This is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just cutting off everything, all the options for his king, for his rook, for just, you can't get anything involved in the game. Okay, so though that we just looked at what happens if the pawns take, and black has to take this queen, because if the king just tries to move, then it's just mate in one. And the same thing for the other side. If he tried to go to the H file, then just mate in one. So that's why it was mate in 9, 6. Still don't really know. It was mate in 6. But that's why it didn't really matter what black did. It was all over once queen takes on that g6 square. Very, very nasty. I kind of like the idea of, it would have been kind of fun if he had gone here, check, and then goes king into the corner. That would have been nasty too, right? That would have been a fun mate, the rook, keeping the pawn pinned down. Anyway, that was our 33rd greatest move. A lot of cool moves in that one, actually a couple of nice moves. If you're liking this series, then check out some more of our videos down there, and I hope you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, today we are in for a treat. Hopefully you're in for a treat, because today we are looking at the 32nd greatest move of all time. And this one is by Vishy Anand, who was world champion for a while, one of the greatest players of all time, versus Balogun back in 2000. And if you haven't ever seen any of Vishy's games, he knew how to attack. Some of his attacks are just ridiculous. We'll see some of his other amazing moves later in this series. They're in some of the top moves of all time. So this one is still good. Definitely worth investigating, and we'll take a look. He's playing white, and as usual, when the pieces stop moving, that means we are in the key position. So there's a lot of shifting around of pieces here. This is a long game getting sort of set up, but known for sort of taking his time to set up his attacks, make sure all the pieces are in the right place, and then execute with very lethal precision. So we have arrived. You can see that white is winning by 2.2. And in this position, he unleashes a savage move that is pretty hard to find. I don't know that I would have found it. It would have taken me a while, or it did take me a while. So pause the game if you need to. Write in the comments what your guess is for the line or for the move and for the continuation. And we will see what Anon plays in this position. So in this position, he plays the absolutely savage knight to f6, which is, ooh, it's just nasty, right? So the threat is obviously just to take the rook. And, you know, if this rook obviously wants to get in the game, the queen wants to get in the game, this knight can hop in, this bishop, once you move this pawn out of the way, has threat. So, the attack is coming. Black sees what some of the options are. And so in the game, he actually chooses to just move his rook out of the way to not take the knight, which is a sound idea. I think that's actually the best move in the position. But Anon is known for not only having the cool sacrifice, but having the interesting follow up. So in this position, he follows up with I don't know, it may be about as nasty as that first move, the very sick pawn to g6, which is also just super nice. There's so many ideas here. You would think, oh, you can take back multiple different ways, and we'll examine some of the options. And in the game, Black does choose to take back with the f pawn, and now the follow up is again a nice move, knight d7, and you just think, what's the idea here? That's just a sacrifice of a knight. Well, the problem is that Black has given up his back rank. He doesn't have any rooks back there. His queen is way on the other side of the board, and so therefore, if bishop takes knight, queen takes bishop, checkmate. So in the position, I got to get that bishop off the back rank. White picks up the rook, takes, and then you would think Anon here could just pick up the pawn. Don't care about the pawn. He doesn't care. The problem is that his back rank the Black's back rank is still it's in need of significant help. There's nobody back there to defend. Black makes a feeble attempt to give himself somewhere to go. Check. And then in this position, Black goes ahead and resigns. King out here, it's mate in two because the queen check, king back, and then it's all over. So that's what happened. That's what happened in the game. Let's examine what could have happened in other lines. So in this position, like I said, Black does not take the knight, but let's see what would have happened if he had taken the knight, and then the very simple pawn takes on f6, and you can see the evaluation bar go up even higher because the threat here is that let's see, it's Black's turn to move. Let's say that he, I don't know, let's say that he pushes this pawn, right? He wants to attack this bishop and attack this rook. Well, the problem here is, can you see what the problem is? Yeah, just very simple. Queen to g5, right? And this back rank that showed up in the game, this back rank problem that showed up in the game is still present in this position because this rook is out of the game. This bishop is stuck, and if you try to get the bishop, if you try to go there with the bishop, you get mated. So you try to pull the bishop out with that, and it's still mate in one because then you just come in with that move. And the position shows mate in four. Reason being is you can sack a couple pieces. You can go bishop there and then take. And then I think you can bring the rook over and then just take and mate. So you can delay it a little bit. So that's what happens if you take the knight on f6. So you can't take it. again in the game, rook, and then here's another option. So the pawn to g6 was where, you know, black again has another option. In the game, he chose to take with f, but if he tried to take with the h pawn, something very nice here is just queen over to h. This knight is defending the g8 square, so the king can't move there. King can't move up. You have to block. You go ahead and block with the rook, and I'll just take that rook. And then if you take back, and you're still in lots of trouble. No, that may be not even the best line here. Okay, taking the rook. That's good. Taking the pawn. Oh, I don't even care about taking. No, do I take the pawn? No, you don't take the pawn. So there's even a, see, I'm just autopiloting it. So there's a better move than just taking the pawn, which seems difficult to understand because it's taking the pawn with check. So the better move here I mean, you just threaten checkmate? No. Okay, so what's the better move? I mean, you can go queen to d8, but I can't imagine. Maybe 3.3. No, and 3.5. The evaluation bar is jumping around on me. I think that 3.8, 3.3. That seems to imply there's a better move. I mean, what else could you want to do here? I mean, knight jumping in, you just get taken. It's not like rook here, is it? No, that's nothing. Okay, 3.6 advantage. It's not, please don't tell me it's rook takes. Okay, sorry. Sometimes I have to try a move that, I don't know. The evaluation bar throws me off. Again, it's not just queen takes pawn. Why is it not just queen takes pawn? Is it like pawn push? Oh, see, I sort of thought about that. The reason, okay, so it's pawn push because now the bishop is an open diagonal to the king. So whatever black does, let's say he pushes the pawn. I mean, you could take. You just take? No. So now what do you do? Knight take with the knight? Oh, you take with the knight. Why do you take with the knight? Because then if rook takes, I mean, it's no good now. Oh, that's okay now? Huh. Interesting. So for some reason, pawn, queen takes pawn is a different, it's a good move, whereas earlier it was not. I am not a good enough chess player to know the difference. In this case, maybe there was a block. Okay, so then king to g8 is forced. I don't know. I mean, you could threaten checkmate, but then you would lose. Oh, you'd lose to rook takes. Okay. You don't take the rook, do you? Yeah, okay, you don't take the rook. So in this position, and this is why this series is called Analyze with Me, because I am trying to figure out what's going on here just like you are. Ooh, how about this? Rook to d2. Oh, man. I thought that was going to be it. Oh, because queen just takes bishop. Dope. Ooh. Is it just here? No, you just lose. It's not like that. Oh boy. Let's see. What's the move here? So rook takes on f2 is the move black wants to play. So in order to stop that, what's the idea here? Okay. So if the rook moves out of the way, then it's checkmate because the bishop and the queen. So can I force the rook to move? Or can I... It's not, you're not sacrificing the rook. Sorry. You're not... Where are you going? Because if you get your king out of danger, but please don't tell me it's like... Okay. What's the move? It's not... Please don't tell me it's a queen sack. It's not rook. No, because you're being attacked here. It's not like queen to f3 or something. Wow. He really does not like anything that I'm thinking of here. It's not like no, it can't be anything because of this attack. I'm literally just guessing at this point because I don't know. It's not a pawn push. What? Oh, come on. That's the move? Why is that the move? Because, because the check, but then you do what? You just step out of the way. And then what does black do? Because the threat is queen, and if you take, then it's just mate in 3 because you come with the bishop or the queen. You come with the bishop, the queen cuts off that square, king goes here, check. Oh, wow. Okay, and then the other idea is when you push the pawn, if bishop takes, pawn takes, And then it's a similar idea as check. I step out of the way, even if you take there. So the key, because okay, I learned something. The check doesn't matter. This rook check on f2, which I thought was going to be powerful, it just doesn't go anywhere because there's no follow-up checks and there's nothing to stop. Once you unleash the bishop on this diagonal, it's all over. Okay, well, if you stayed with us that long, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. This was our 32nd greatest move of all time. That move was quite a while ago. It was a good move too. Just couldn't figure out what the alternative line was. So we have more videos in this series. I'm learning lots. Hope you are too. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello, today we're looking for the 31st greatest move in chess history. This is a game played in 1957 between Mikhail Tal and Koblenz. Tal is playing white. He is featured in a couple of our other greatest moves of all time videos because he was one of the most amazing attackers in chess history. He liked to create very powerful sacrifices that tore open the opponent's castled king oftentimes, and this is another example where he does this. So he's obviously attacking on the king side, and black has most of his pieces on the queen side. So we're going to see how white capitalizes on his position. He offers up a bishop there that does not get taken, a couple other sacrifices, and we're going to end up in a position where white is going to be dead even as he goes to make his amazing move. So we're there. White was previously just winning. If you watched the evaluation bar, it was just up about 2.5 points, drops back down to 0. But he has a couple of tricks up his sleeve, including the 31st greatest move of all time. So write it in the comments if you think you know what it is, and pause the game if you need some more time to analyze the position. Otherwise, we will move on. And in this position, white plays the amazing move, rook from h1 to h6. The evaluation bar didn't even register. Nothing happened. 0.0 to 0.0. So if you look at the evaluation bar, not an interesting move, didn't do anything. But in the game, it did because black has a lot of options, right? Like this knight cannot take the rook because it is pinned down by the queen, but this pawn could take. So, that could be an option. And then obviously black has a whole bunch of moves he can make here. He could check with the bishop. He could take the knight. He could push the pawn, all sorts of options. But if he doesn't make the correct series of moves, he will start to lose this game, and that is what happened. So let's watch what happened in the game, and then we'll talk about some of the other options. So in the game, he pushes the pawn, trying to break open the king. In this position, white takes the bishop, says, why not? Move the king out of check. And then black gobbles up that knight, which was free, but you can see from the evaluation bar, not the right move here. And that's because, again, you can see how black has all 4 of its active pieces. This knight is not active because it is pinned down. All 4 of his pieces on the queen side. An attack is maybe coming, but this is not fast enough to meet white's 4 pieces that are even closer to the opponent's king and are coming in fast. So in this position, white moves to rook f6, which again is offering up this rook. Black declines it again. Queen takes on g7 is a very nice move. When I was going through this game earlier, the evaluation bar said mate in 25 after that move, but now it just shows white winning by almost 10 points. So in this position, black goes ahead and resigns because, the king's in danger. How does he get out of danger? All he can do is go to king to e8 or king to e7, and then either way, just so many options here, right? Yeah, and it's, obviously this is going to be just a massacre. These rooks are just going to steamroll. This queen's coming in, all sorts of problems. So we're going to go back a couple moves and see what else black could have done after rook to h6. Because again, the evaluation bar is saying that black is totally fine here. So what else could have black done? So we'll look at the most obvious move is that what would have happened if black had simply taken that rook? You can see from the evaluation bar, no bueno, because bishop takes, check, and you can block the check if you want to. But then in this position, I believe the right move, so now this knight is pinned down, this rook is pinned down. I think, can you just take the rook? No, so that's an okay move, but not the best. Is it like, I think it's like taking, is it taking the pawn? It's definitely not, ooh, then you just get mated with all sorts of problems. Okay, so it's not taking, you don't take this bishop, do you? Oh, interesting. Apparently you're just like, hey, free bishop, I'll take the bishop. And then if black was to take the knight, oh, then it's just mate at 15. Ooh, whoops. Okay, so then let's say that black, what does black want to do here? I mean, his pieces are just so discoordinated. Discoordinated? Is that a word? Uncoordinated? Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm making up words here. What does black do to even have a chance? I'm not really sure. Let's say he takes the pawn, just because why not? So what would white come crashing in here? Come crashing in with the rook? No, we don't like that. It's not the bishop, it. Well, what is... Are you saving the knight? No, then it's a draw. Huh, I wonder why. Okay, so what does white do here? It's not something crazy like that. You just take the rook? Oh, yeah, free rook. Okay, and then if queen takes back, now mate in 11, check. Or no, it's not a check. Mate in 9, bishop check. There we go. If queen takes, then queen takes, and it's going to be mate in a couple moves. So in this position, let's say that, let's just say he goes here, and then it's, check with the queen, and eventually you can see how the white pieces are going to run over this black king. So we'll go back a couple moves and see if there's anything else for white to have, or black to have done here. Rook to h6. And then if black just wants to keep things neutral, you just sack the bishop. If the king tries to go underneath, I think, let's see, how would you sack to keep going here? Do you sack that way? Nope, doesn't like that, sorry. Do you just take the knight? Okay, just take the knight. And then I guess this attack by white, which he tries in the game, sort of no longer works. I wonder why. Can I just... How do I get out of it? Because you still can't take, I assume. Oh, now you can't take. Why? Oh, because the bishop is blocked. What happens if you go check here? It's still just a draw block. And then what does white do? Because he can't take here. Yeah, that'd be losing now. Okay, so it's just dead equal. I guess you could just trade off these pieces. The queen is no longer in the way, so... Oh, and you also have something like this. The queen to check here. So, yeah, okay. So that's a dead even game after if black had just played a different move. But, again, you can imagine how difficult the moves are to find in a position like this in real time with the clock ticking away. So that was our 31st greatest move of all time, rook to h6. Again, the evaluation bar, didn't even notice it, but ultimately it did win white the game after some other good moves to follow up. So keep watching our series by going to the series or the playlist bar over there, and we hope that you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today I'm bringing you the 30th greatest move in chess history, and today's move is straight up sick. I mean, they're all pretty good, right, because they're the greatest moves in chess history, but today's move is just nasty. So this game is Larson versus Spassky, 1970. So Spassky is going to be doing the amazing move. He was one of the better chess players. Maybe, well, I don't know that anyone considers him the best, but he was, one of the top players. So the pieces have already stopped moving. This was a pretty short one. So in this position, what is Black's quite ridiculous move? As usual, write it in the comments if you want to take your best guess or you already are confident you know what it is, and pause the video if you need more time to figure out what's going on. So we'll do a quick look at what's happening. This bishop is x-raying through this pawn, the rook. This rook has this nice open file. This pawn is just 2 squares away from promoting. This bishop is not looking too happy right now, but it does have eyes on some pieces over here. And then the queen is a little bit far from the action, but she can get in it relatively quickly. Okay, we're going to jump over to the move. Move number 30. Here we go. You ready? I hope you figured it out. It is the difficult to see in a real game, rook to h1. And still, as usual, I just can't imagine making that move in a game and, analyzing what all the consequences might be. So, as our tradition is, we will look to see what happened in the game, and then we'll look at a couple other lines. So, in the game, what does white do here? Well, I mean, white almost has to take, right? So he takes the rook. He says, okay, show me what you got. Pawn push. Yep, okay, fine. And then rook to f1, which is pretty amazing, but there's not a lot better, right? So the queen comes flying in. She was hanging out, getting ready to get into the battle. King over, I'll take, and white says, you know what? I'm all done here. All done. This king is just not happy. On the back row, his friends are not participating in the activity. Just nasty. So let's look at what some of the other options might have been here. So once the rook goes down, what else could white have done? You can see from the evaluation bar, it's not looking good. He's already down over 5 points. So it's going to be a struggle to find anything else. But so the obvious other option, right, is to just move the king over. And now you can see the mate in 4. Because you would come in with, do you take? Check. And then he now is forced to take. And then I think you just bring in the queen, right? Yep, mate in 2. And this queen is just too far out of the game. He just simply can't get involved. So it doesn't matter. Let's say let's say you put the queen back there just to, And the queen slides over, and good night. So the only other thing that jumps out to me as an option is after you take and the pawn push, then you just step rook underneath rook to g1, right? So that's the only other thing that even seems to make sense. The problem is obvious. This queen is going to come flying in for a check. And then what? Can't move over, can't move diagonal. You go here and slide in, I think, there, right? Oh, no, I missed it because, see, because rook, can rook take? Wow, rook can take, and that's okay. Wow, the weave, I guess you already sacrificed a rook. Okay, see, this is why it's called Analyze with me. It's because I am learning something. So, in this position, okay, so it's check. That is, okay, so the check is the right move. King has to go over. And then instead of going queen to f2, we go queen to h1. Yep, that's it. Okay, because now the rook can't take the pawn. If he doesn't take your queen, then the queen will take the rook, and there is no way to protect that rook. So in this position, the rook would take queen, and then it's just mate in one, because once you block, it's all over. Okay, so the rook to h1 move, again, once you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I could have made that move. No. Nope, you don't make that move in real life. I don't make that move in real life. Maybe you do. You maybe you're that good. But most people do not make that move in real life. Okay, so thanks for watching. We are in the middle of our series. Well, we're on move 30 on our way to the greatest chess move of all time. We've done 20 moves so far, and we're going to keep it going in our series down there. So, like our videos and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today we are here with the 29th greatest move in chess history. We are in the middle, almost middle of our 50 greatest moves of all time series. So this is our good friend Bobby Fischer. This is his second showing on our list. He will come back a handful of more times before it's all said and done on our way to the greatest move of all time. I don't want to give any hints, but he may be in the top 5. I don't know. So this game, though, is from 1970. He is playing Gligoric, and in this game, he's moving lots of pawns. He's lots of pawns in this game. So we are approaching the move. As you know, when the pieces stop moving, then we have reached our position where we're going to look for the amazing move. So Fischer is going to start pushing these pawns on the H file so that he can get that open file. He has it moving the rook around, and then look at that evaluation bar, jump up in favor of white, and in this position, Fischer is going to strike with an amazing move. Let's do a quick look at what's going on here. This knight is ready and willing to jump in to one of those two squares. This bishop and queen are eyeing those squares, and this bishop, he's not going anywhere anytime soon because of this pawn chain. But so Fischer has 4 pieces that can get involved. Black has not moved this rook. This knight is not on its starting square, but it's not on a good square either. And this knight is also not on a good square. 2 knights on the side of the board does not do a chess player good. I think that's a saying, right? I'm pretty sure that's a saying. So, pause the video, write in the comments what you think Bobby does in this position, and we will go and look at it. So, in this position, Fischer plays the very fun. I saw this move when I was a young chess player, and it's always been in the back of my mind as just like a cool move. Some of you may have seen it. The very simple but very nice rook takes on f6. I like that move. It's just cool. So in this position, there is no further let's look at the game because the game is over. Black is like, I've had enough. I'm down 5.5 points. Again, he did not know he was down 5.5 points because there's no evaluation bar when you're playing a real game. But he could probably feel like he was losing, and he probably saw what the implications were if he was to take that rook. So that is what we're going to look at. Let's say he takes the rook and he has a couple of options. Let's say he takes it with the king. Then you come in with the very nice skewer attacking the king for a check. And when he moves out of the way, you take the queen for free. Thank you very much. And the game is definitely over. And if he wants to take back with the queen instead, you go, oh, well, you figured that out. Nope, just kidding. Knight fork, hitting the queen and the king. And then the king is going to get a danger. You take the queen, and boom, you get hit anyway. So the queen is going down one way or the other if you take the rook. And the other option is to just say, you know what, I'm not going to take this rook and do something else like, I don't know, knight to h7. Sorry. Yeah, knight to h7. Very simple here. I'm coming in with the queen. No, I'm not. Coming with the bishop. Sorry. Coming with the bishop. If you take check and then it's mate in one, that's not good. The other option would be to, I guess you could take the rook here. I don't know. Not like that matters. It's still all over but the crying, right? Because you're coming in with the queen, you're coming in with the knight, and this game is going to be over. So that is why Black resigned once rook takes on f6, is because skewers and forks and pins and all the tactics are on their way no matter what he chooses to do. That was our 29th greatest move of all time. We're, like I said, almost halfway through our series, which is down there. So like and subscribe. I hope you learned something and you watch more of our videos. Okay, thanks. Bye. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at our 28th greatest move of all time in our series, the 50 greatest moves in chess history. Today we're looking at a game from 1995 between two world champions, Kasparov playing white and Vishy Anand playing black. I believe Kasparov is the world champion at this point and I think retains his title. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Both of them are, obviously world champions, but also two of the greatest players, two of the best attackers. And in this case, Kasparov shows off his skills by playing what move in this position. Let's look to see what's going on here. This bishop and queen obviously are controlling this diagonal. White's bishop, or light square bishop is also controlling that diagonal. This queen can hop in the game multiple ways. This bishop owns that diagonal and owns this diagonal. And then this rook is trying to do a little side eye, a little x-ray, looking at this queen if this bishop was to move out of the way. So white has a lot going on. Black is not giving a lesson in how to develop your pieces because this rook and this bishop are not involved in the game at all. The king is stuck in the middle. That is no bueno. That's all the Spanish I know, just for the record. So how does white take advantage of this poor position for black? He does so by playing the stupendous bishop to h6. Very nice. Not even taking a piece. Just, I don't even want my bishop. Just take it. Take it, please. Normally we look at what happens in the game, but in this case we're going to look to see what the idea is for white. What's the idea? He would love for black to take, because you can see that the evaluation bar goes to mate in 2, where that mate in 2, it's just a simple queen check, king is forced, and good night. The other option is, for queen to try to take this rook, but then the king takes back, and you can see that there's not going to be enough left to attack. You could take here, take, block, and then you're coming in. It's a check, but it's not enough. White's going to win this game. So that's what Kasparov was looking at when he made the move. In the game, Vichy sees this, and so after bishop to h6, he simply goes queen to c3, giving up the pawn because that pawn was in the way. That's why and Kasparov goes there in the first place, because that pawn was going to block. Let's show what that would look like. So, if he was to go here now, he just gets blocked off, right? That's what Kasparov was trying to do with his move. So he takes that pawn so that it can't get in the way, and then now Anand, still trying to play defense, wants to be able to move his queen in the way. When that check comes, Kasparov picks up a rook, and then now the game goes on for a few more moves. Well, actually several more moves, as they trade off some of the pieces, and Kasparov is up 2 pawns, and he keeps a similar advantage for most of the game until Anand makes a mistake here where he goes back, and that is about it, right? So now Kasparov's up 4, and eventually it just goes up to 5. So this rook to c1 is what basically seals the deal here. I mean, how are you stopping 3 pawns? 2 of them are passed pawns. This other pawn can get involved. It's going to be hard to stop, and Black's pawns are just not going to be able to break through. So that's how the game went. But back to the key move, this bishop to h6. What a nice move. Not only does it remove this defender, or try to remove this defender, it obviously also attacks the queen. So Anand had to answer a couple of different questions here, and he was unable to do so in the game. So that is our 28th greatest move of all time. We are moving towards the greatest move of all time. We will get there probably before I even know it, before you know it, really soon. So keep watching our series down here to the right, and I think that's right. And we will keep making videos. Hope you like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today we are looking at the 27th greatest move of all time. We are almost to the middle of our 50 greatest moves in chess history. So we're looking at a game between Spassky and Bronstein from 1960. And as usual, that information will be in the show notes if you want to see this game, if you want to do your own analysis, if you want to, use this move for your chess club, if you want to do whatever cool stuff with it. So the pieces have stopped moving, which means we are there. The white knight is a monster deep in the position. The white bishop and white queen are obviously wanting to come into h7, which is why black had to try to defend that square. Otherwise, that would have been checkmate coming up. And then this black pawn is more than willing to take this rook, promote to a queen. So in this position, what does white want to do to earn him the 27th spot? Take a minute and pause the game if you need to, and write in the comments what you think it is. Otherwise, we will go ahead and evaluate what happens in the game. The move is knight takes on f7. A beautiful sacrifice. You can see from the evaluation bar, it didn't really change that much, but that is okay because now black is in a difficult position. He takes the rook, because why not? If you can get a free rook for a pawn with check, it seems like that's probably not a bad idea. So white takes back, and then now bishop to f5, which, to be honest, I don't fully understand because that doesn't really seem to do much. But hey, not my game. Queen takes, because that's a free bishop. And then now let's trade queens. Black offers. White says no thank you. The black bishop cuts off communication with this white knight that is still being attacked by multiple pieces. White brings in the other knight, queen over, and then bishop has this nasty discovered check being lined up. So takes knight, and then the discovered check gets realized. King to h7, and then the game is over with a queen to e4. Black resigns because if he blocks, then I think you can come in. Let's see, come in with a knight. Oh, good grief! Oh, you just gave up your queen. Sometimes I need to pay attention. So in this position, you come in with that. Boom. Is that not the best move? 6.8. 7.2. There's a better move than the rook move? What? Oh, do you sack on the rook? Yeah, you sack the rook on the knight because the knight is what was defending that square. Very nice. Okay. So that's what happens if you push the pawn. And then if the king goes back, then it's mate in 4, starting with... Do you start with that again? Oh, you do. That knight, you just got to get that knight out of there. And then, takes back with the rook. Check. The bishop is covering that square, so you come back here. Double check. You go back here, and then you slide the queen in for a checkmate. Other option would be if you just go king back. No, that's what we just did. You could block, and then that obviously gets you mated with the queen, the knight, and the bishop all coming in. So all those options lead to checkmate. And in the game, what else could black have done initially? So let's say that instead of taking the pawn here, black, let's say he takes the knight. Then it's just a mate in 6. Double check. No, doesn't like the double check. Okay. That better? Yeah, that knight better. So then the rook and the knight are both attacking the king. If the king goes back here, then can you come in with the queen? Now it goes to mate in 6. Because if you take... No, you can't take there, not that check. Do you block? I mean, not block. Do you go bishop here? Okay, he could block. Let's say he blocks. Check again. Check. Takes. No, mate in 3. So they're the faster option. Take the queen. Nope, still mate in 3. Okay. You go back here. Mate in 3 everywhere I go. Okay, what's the play here? So we're going to go here. There we go. Okay, can't. And then you go back in the corner and then bam. Okay, so that's if king takes knight. And then, let's see, is there anything else here? He takes, turns into a queen, which is what happened in the game. And then now he goes the bishop here. What if he just goes here immediately? Yeah, so seems like, I don't know why he moved the bishop there. But in this case, up 3.8. You come in here? No, that does not work. You come in here? Yeah, okay, then you jump the other knight in, and attacking the queen, also all lots of threats. Okay, so knight to f7 is the move that we were looking for. There's lots of variations, but they all lead to a win for white. So I think that was a pretty fancy move. It did not end the game immediately, but it was a nice enough setup for white that he had an advantage and he was able to complete the victory. So hopefully you learned something. I always do, analyzing the position, especially my mistakes when I do not notice that the queens can be taken by knights. And yeah, so I said, are before we're in the middle of our series, which is down there. So hopefully you can come watch some more of our games and like and subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello, folks. I have a treat for you today with our 26th greatest move of all time. This game was Duras versus Cohen, or Khan, maybe, from 1911. As I've stated many a times, the farther back you go, the better the attacks were because they had no chess engines to give them amazing guidance for playing the first 25 moves of a game. So things just got crazy fast. And this game is no exception. So this is going to be white with the amazing move. And this is kind of a long game. There's some significant trading going on. You can see the evaluation bar is sort of jumping back and forth. And again, that's because the play was just a little bit less accurate in some ways. So just trade, sacking pieces, and black has a slight advantage right now. White is looking like he's in lots of trouble. There were two passed pawns bearing down on his position, but he's able to equalize. And then even though he looks like he is getting close to getting mated, he is going to construct an amazing attack towards the end here, starting with the next move. So you can see the evaluation bar goes up. So you know that there's something amazing that's about to happen. In the game, he had to find it. So can you find it? These rooks obviously have both the 7 and 8 rows covered. You do have to be careful though, because if you do not pay close attention, then this queen is going to come checkmate you. So white is going to have to be very precise and very efficient. Tell us in the comments what you think the move is. If you haven't seen this one, this is I don't know if this is a famous game, but this is a nice sacrifice. There's a couple of nice lines here that we'll look at, and pause the game if you need more time. Otherwise, we're going to look at our 26th greatest move of all time. So it starts off with the very nice rook takes on h7 check. And again, these are all going to have to be checks because if not, he's going to get mated. So in the game, let's see what black does. He can take back with the king or the knight. No, he can't take back with the knight, sorry. The knight is pinned down. So he has to take back with either the king or he has to move his king. He decides to take back. Let's see what happens. Queen check. King moves over. Rook check. King moves up. Rook takes on g5. Very nice. That one is could almost get you a video, get a video all by itself, right? That is a very nice move in this position. So what does black do? He takes back with the king, and then what's the follow-up move for white? Very simple. Queen to g7 check, because you can see that the king cannot move forward, obviously. Oh, that's not the arrow I want. He can't move forward because these squares are all cut off by the pawns. If he moves the king to h5, then I'm going to say thank you for your queen when you move out of the way. And the same thing actually happens if you try to move king to f5. the nice check. King moves out of the way, and thank you for your queen, and then white wins easily. So he sacks both rooks to get a position where he can either threaten mate or take the queen and then win. So that was quite a nice continuation. In the game, we normally look at what the other lines were, but there's not really much else, right? Because, like I said, they're all checks. So takes. The only other option here, instead of taking with the king, would be to move out of the way. And that becomes a mate in 19. Oh, no, mate in 15. Oh, easy. So easy. Mate in 15. Ha! I am not going to try to figure that out. Because if you've seen some of our previous videos, solving for long checkmates, that's not what I'm super great at. I can what would this even be? Let's pretend like see, I immediately make the first move right off the bat. Wrong move off the bat. Maiden, no, now it's maiden 14. Okay, the evaluation keeps changing. That's the wrong move. Do you just go back here or something? Nope. Then you just lose. What else is there? It's not taking. It's not going there. Now it's mate in 10. Ah, come on. That's easier than mate in 15, but that's still not gonna work. Can you check with the queen? Nope. Oh, wow. Mate in 10. I don't even know how to get started. You could just take the queen, right? Oh, it's still mate in 10. Whatever. That's what I would probably do in the game. I would just take the queen, get checked, move over, and then you could do a couple of spite checks here, but black is going to go down. He does not have enough material left, and white is going to win. So let's see, is there anything else that takes, check, and then here, that check, you could step king to h6 there, but then you're going to get mated in 3 moves. The rook is coming in. That's not the best move, but it's going to win the queen too. The best move in the position is simply a check. You have to go down. The rook comes over. You block. And then you get checkmated. And let's see what else. So he takes here. Check. That was if he steps. He could block. If he blocks, he just gets mated in 3. So quick checkmate that way. So not a ton of options for black here. That was a very forcing line that white came up with. I definitely like the sacrifice of the 2 rooks. So that was our 26th greatest move of all time. I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm learning a ton. I think I mentioned a couple videos ago that my personal rating online went up about like 200 points since I've started doing these videos because of, the tactics and the things that I'm practicing and learning and seeing going through these games. So I recommend that if you have the time and you want to improve your chess game. So more in the playlist is down there, and I hope you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello, folks. Today we are looking at number 25. That is right. We are halfway through our 50 greatest moves in chess history. Today we're looking at a amazing game. This was, I think, an online game between Hikaru Nakamura, probably the best blitz player of all time, versus Robert Hess in 2021. And in this game, Nakamura unleashes a beastly move that would be amazing to find even in a long game, much less a shorter blitz format. So, hopefully you've seen some of our videos at this point, because again, we are halfway through, and so you would know that when the pieces stop moving, that means that we have reached our magical position. And so here we are. The evaluation bar was about equal until the most recent move, and then it just jumps up because the black now can play a very, very nasty move. Take a minute and review what is going on and see if you can figure it out. This rook is obviously bearing down on the king. This queen and this bishop are also bearing down. And that's actually all black has. There's 3 active pieces. So it's got to be somewhere in there, right? Write in the comments what you think it is, and we will take a look. And in this position, Nakamura uncorks the very nasty and very nice rook takes on b2. Double exclamation point. I think it's probably easiest just to show why Nakamura makes this move, in that I will show you what would have happened if Hess had taken. So let's see. This is actually kind of hard to figure out sometimes. So if king takes, now what does black do in this position? This is like a bonus special move, a bonus amazing move. So it's a very nice, very neat queen takes queen. Reason is that this bishop is pinning down this rook, so this rook cannot take back. So that was the idea behind the rook sack on b2, is that it would ultimately win the queen if it was accepted. We will take a look at what happens in the game, since Hess, being a good player himself, does not go for this. So in the game, takes on b2, king moves, and then we get a series of moves where black picks up some pawns, and, you know, there's lots of pawn grabbing here. And trade queens, nope. Trade queens, nope. Let's push some pawns. And whoops-a-daisy. Mate in 1, checkmate. Missed that. Okay. In the game, there weren't a ton of other options. You know, so once rook takes, obviously you can't go back in the corner because there's all sorts of trouble here. Let's see, what would be an obvious move here? You're up 6 points. Can you just trade rooks? I mean, trade queens? I mean, that's a fine move. It's not amazing, right? Because then if rook takes, then it's just mate in 2, because something simple like check. Mate in 1, you'd have to block with the rook and then mate. So that would not go so well. What else could white do here? Well, yeah, so not a lot of options. It's pretty strong, pretty forcing move. In the game, white played the best available option, but it was already lost. So that's a pretty short video, pretty short game, if you will. It was, well, that's not true. It wasn't a very short game, but it was a short continuation after move number 25. I hope you are enjoying this series. I have said before, I'm learning a lot, and I hope you are too. And we have the next 25 hopefully coming up, and that series, or, you know, the entire series is down here. So like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.